166 An Introduction to God. Dabarym, Words. 4. Zarowa, Sowing Seeds. The Last Witness. As reluctant as I was to share what we discovered in the preceding chapter, it pales by comparison with what follows. The conclusion of Yasha'yah, Isaiah is devoted to presenting the role a Goy, Gentile would play in calling Israel and Yahweh home. The prophet's discussion capitalizes upon what he revealed in the 11th chapter. He builds upon it beginning in the 55th chapter and continues through the 65. Throughout, we discover that Yahweh's witness will not speak unopposed. In particular, rabbis will continue to pull the religious in an entirely different direction. This is the choice that confronts the chosen people. This is an announcement and a warning, Howie, to everyone who thirsts, Shirl Zama, choose to walk toward the water, toward the source of cleansing and life, Holak Lahamaim. Then, let the one who wants to enjoy the benefits of the relationship do so without cost, because the path to walk to get the most enjoyment out of life does not require anyone to pay anything. Wa Asherin Lahu Kizb. You have been given the opportunity to go about, Holak, acquiring food, choosing to procure and obtain what is needed, Shabbat, and is nourishing, Wa Kal. Come hither, Wa, to obtain, Shabbat, wine, Yain, without any money, Barlo Kizb, and milk, Shalab. 167 Without remuneration or compensation, Wa Barlo Masha. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 55:1. This serves as a repudiation of rabbinic Judaism. Rabbis extort Jews and the state of Israel with the imposition of their exceedingly restrictive and expensive kosher, immigration, and marital laws, over which they are judge, jury, and banker. The Haredi renounce all freedoms. They are told how to dress, what language to speak, what books to read, and where to live. Every aspect of their miserable lives is controlled by power-hungry and megalomaniacal rabbis. Worse, secular Jews are forced to pay for these religious parasites to be brainwashed. Just as Yahowah offered his Torah, teaching without charge, he wants us to follow his example. Every book we have composed to convey Yahowah's testimony is offered in its entirety online at YadaYah.com without cost, in addition to thousands of hours of audio commentary. Even the printed volumes are sold royalty-free. Yahowah could not have been more forthright. The cost of eating kosher is onerous and ridiculous. In particular, milk can only be consumed when rabbis have been paid to watch the process from the feeding of the cow to the processing of the milk. And any wine not blessed by a rabbi and made by an Orthodox Jew is banned, assuring that the rabbis make a buck on every grape. To his people, the victims of rabbinic Judaism, Yahowah asks, so please explain, why do you spend, continually paying out money, lama shakal kizb, for that which is not actually nourishing, barlo lechem, such that your labor, YYV1C4 atom, is not satisfying and produces nothing of lasting value, barlo la sebar. 168 Listen diligently, Shama, to me, LNE, and be nourished by, Kal, that which is good, by that which is useful and beneficial, productive and valuable, Tob, pleasurable and enjoyable, Anag, with these being the most desirable and beneficial options, Bar Dashan, for your soul, Nipesh atom. Yasha'yah 55:2. With these words Yahowah is encouraging his people to exchange their stupefying Talmud for his enlightening Torah. By failing to do so, Israelites endure the most restrictive and counterproductive religion on earth, when the alternative, a relationship with Yahowah, remains the most liberating and beneficial opportunity in the universe. Incline your ear, doing so of your own volition, Nata Urzan atom, and choose to walk to me, Waholak LNE. Decide to actually listen, Shama, so that your soul may continue to exist, Wahaya Nipesh atom. Then I will cut you into, establishing for you, Karat La atom, the everlasting, Olam, covenant, Berith, which was affirmed and verified, Aman, with unremitting love and unfailing devotion, Kesed, toward Dowd. Yasha'yah 55:3. God is encouraging Israel to listen to him rather than to their rabbis, so that they may live. Even now, especially now, he is inviting his people to cherish the covenant he forged so lovingly with his son, Dowd. This is your choice, Israel, rabbis or Yahowah, Talmud or Torah, religion or relationship, the star of Bar Kokhba on your flag or a menorah illuminating the path home. What follows is among the most relevant realizations in the prophets. Behold, because surely, I bestowed and offered him as, Nathan Hugh, an enduring witness with restoring testimony, to people of every ethnicity 169 and culture, Leam, an authorized leader publicly promoting the truth, Nagid, and as an instructor, Zarowa, for an archaic and misled world, Leam. Yasha'yah 55:4. When we come to recognize Dowd's relevance and accept his role as the central character in God's story, everything fits together and falls into place. Throughout our journey, second only to learning about Yahowah, we will celebrate this man's life and lyrics, his sacrifice and appeal. However, considering the fact that Dowd was a prophet, and that his audience was almost exclusively Israelites, the witness to the people of every ethnicity who is serving as a teacher to a misled world is likely his herald. Therefore, so that his son is properly introduced, God wants Jews and Gentiles alike to know. I want to emphasize this here and now, asking you to pay attention. There is a lone Gentile, someone who is neither a Israelite nor Yahudi, Gawi, whom you consistently fail to recognize and acknowledge, Lo Yada, that you can actually read consistently calling you out, literally summoning you by continuing to make pronouncements to welcome you to an upcoming meeting, Kara. In addition, this lone Gawi, who is not understood or respected by you, and who possesses information you fail to comprehend, Lo Yada Otter, shall be, and now has been, hurriedly brought before you, and he is intense in his continual focus upon you, not wasting any time, genuinely working as quickly as possible to pursue you, Ruz El Otter, on behalf of, Laman, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Otter, the set-apart one, Wala Kadosh of Yisrael. 170 For indeed, KY, he is reaffirming your status, lifting you up by shaking the tree to knock off the fruits so that you can be gleaned, preparing you for the harvest by recognizing and respecting your value, Pa Otter. Yasha'yah 55-5. Yahowah did not disclose this for the sake of the Gawi he has chosen to deploy to write this message but, instead, for the benefit of those who would consider what he had to say about him. The non-Israelite is being used to awaken a lost world, telling all who will listen that Yahowah is calling his people home. There are souls to be harvested, and so he is shaking the tree in the expectation that some of its fruit will let go and trust God. He is proclaiming that the covenant's children are valuable to Yahowah. Here in the summer of 2023, only 10 years remain, and many of them will be inhospitable. The time to discover the truth is now. Seek, learning the information which has been made available about, Durosh, Yahowah, while he may be found and encountered, Bar Matzahu. Choose to call upon him, Karahu, while he is near, Bar Hayahu Karob. Yasha'yah 55-6. Those in violation of the standard, the unethical and immoral, the religious and political, Rasha, should reject their own way, as Abderek, along with the evil and deceitful individuals whose beliefs, musings, and opinions are untrue, Wa Awen Shemakashabahu. Let him choose, of his own volition, to return, Wa Shub, to, Yahowah, so that he may have compassion on him and love him, re-engaging in a relationship with him, Wa Rachem 171. And as for our God, Wa El Elohim Anakdu, he will actually forgive, La Salak, many, Rabah. Yasha'yah 55-7. Yahowah is calling you. Are you listening? Are you willing to finally disgorge all aspects of religion and politics such that you are prepared to return home? Will you do so now before it is too late? Jews have not only rejected Yahowah and his Torah, but they have also replaced them with rabbis and their Talmud. Therefore, for my thoughts, Ky Makashabar Eni, are not your thoughts, Lo Makashabar Atom. And neither are my ways, Wa Lo Derek Eni, your ways, Derek Atom, prophetically declares, Naum, Yahowah. Yasha'yah 55-8. For the spiritual realm, Ky Shamaim, is dimensions beyond the comprehension of, Gaba, the material realm, Min Eres. Likewise, so, Ken, are my ways, Derek Eni, well in advance, Gaba, of your ways, Derek Atom, and, Wa, my reasoning, Makashabar Eni, distant from, Min, your inclinations and opinions, Makashabar Atom. Yasha'yah 55-9. The Torah is as superior to the Talmud as Yahowah is to the gaggle of rabbis who have sought to usurp his authority. The truth is a treasure while religion is a toxin. Most especially, while religious Jews claim to be Torah observant, they are not fooling God. He is aware, as you should be, that Judaism bears no resemblance to the relationship Yahowah intended. We have long known that Yahowah's words are like seeds which when cultivated bear fruit. 172 Indeed, just as, Ky Kar Asher, the rain, Geshem, descends, coming down, Yared, along with snow, Wahar Shalag, from the sky, Minhar Shamaim, they do not return there without watering and refreshing the earth, Washem Loshu Ky Imroa Ethar Eres, such that it conceives life, buds, Wayulod high, sprouts, and grows, Wazamak high. When I give seeds, Wa Nathan Zerah, to the one who sows, Lahar Zerah, there is bread to eat, Wa Lechem Lahar Kal. Yasha'yah 55-10, so shall my word be, Ken Haya Debar Eni. For the benefit of the relationship, Asher, that which goes out of my mouth, Yatsam in Payeni, shall not return to me without result, delivering what was expected, Lo Shuv El Eni Rekam. Without exception, Kym, it will accomplish, Asar, the relational benefits which, Asher, I desire and on behalf of those I find pleasing, Chafets. It will succeed, Wazalak, for the benefit of the relationship for which I have extended it, Asher Shalak Hu. Yasha'yah 55:11. Yahweh initially conveyed these seeds through his prophets, especially through the mighty Zarowa, Moses and Dowd. Then, as we will soon discover, he would deploy another Zarowa to sow them, to expose them to the light and cultivate them prior to his return. Based upon this revelation, God's witness will be successful. The little Z's efforts will bear fruit. And that is why, just 4 chapters hence, we will be introduced to the final witness, the third Zarowa, a Naka, observant foreigner working as Yada, who has been tasked with planting and cultivating God's seeds. It is my hope that you are among those who benefit. 173 Indeed, with a positive attitude, KY Bar Simcha, you will be brought out and withdrawn, Yatsa. And with the relationship reconciled, Wa Bar Shalaum, you will be guided and led, Yabal, to the mountains and to the hilltops, Ha Ha Waha Jaibar, becoming worry-free, peaceful, and serene, Patsak. You will approach and appear, La Pana Atom, singing this song, Rina. And all of the trees of the field, Wa Shurlets Ha Sardeh, shall clap their hands, bending in a celebratory manner, Makakaf. Yasha'yah 55:12, instead of, Takath, the thorn bush, Nyatsus a cypress tree and noble fir, Birch, shall ascend, Allah. And in place of, Wa Takath, the stinging nettle, Surfad, a myrtle, Hadas, shall rise, Allah. This will be, Wahaya, a place to approach, La Shamla, Yahowah, an everlasting sign and symbol, La Otholam, which shall never be uprooted or cut down, Lo Karat. Yasha'yah 55:13. Those who choose to answer this invitation will be withdrawn from the toxicity of religion and brought unto the hills of Yerushalayim, reconciled and radiant. As their souls are transformed, so will be the earth beneath their feet, returning to the beauty enjoyed in Gan Eden, the garden of great joy. Our journey of discovery begins with being observant. It progresses by exercising good judgment. And it results in our vindication when we act accordingly. For this is what, KY Yahowah, says, Amar, be observant and consider, Shema, the means to exercise good judgment, and justly resolve disputes, making good decisions, Mishpat. Then, Wa, engage, acting upon, Asar, that which is correct and vindicating, Zardaka, because indeed, KY, my deliverance and resulting salvation, Yasha'yah 174 are approaching, they are close and intimately personal, Karob La Eni. Therefore, Wa, the one who is correct about me, Zardaka Eni, will come, La Bo. He will be revealed, Galah. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 56:1. This is what Solomon advised as he spoke to the people upon the completion of Yahweh's home, the first temple. He was encouraging Israel to be observant and then responsive, acting upon what the witness would be sharing on their behalf. Having studied the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, especially the Psalms and Proverbs of Dowd, the Naka, observant and responsive foreigner would come to know the way home via the Berith, covenant. He would be correct regarding the means of deliverance, vindication, and even salvation, which occur as a result of what father and son have achieved through the Mikra. Listen, and you, too, can be part of Yahweh's family. Unless there is another Gawi whose writings remain unknown, you are experiencing the fulfillment of this prophecy. Yahweh inspired Yasha'yah, Isaiah to convey this promise in writing so that you would know how to proceed, especially in a world filled with deceitful and deadly ideas. Blessed by the benefits of the relationship, joyous and productive, Ashri, is the person, in Aush, who acts upon and engages in, Asar, this, Joth. Because, Wa, the son, Ben, of Adam, by observing, Shema, the Shabat, and by not defiling and profaning it, Minchal Hu, he is empowered and strengthened, enlightened and restored, Chazak, by it, Bahai. By being observant, Wa Shema, his hand, and especially that which he influences, Yod Hu, is kept 175 from acting upon or engaging in, Minasar, anything unjust, immoral, or irrational, Ra. Yasha'yah 56:2. Do not say regarding, Wa Alamar, the observant son of a foreign land, the one who knows and understands through thoughtful examination, then acknowledges by being discerning and respectful, Wa Ben Ha-Nekar, who has formed a relationship with, Lawa El, Yahowah, something which would infer or suggest, Lama, Yahowah, has abandoned me, preventing me from being included, but Al-Badal Eni, as part of his family, Minin Alam Hu. And let not the esteemed and authorized designee say, Wa alamah ha-series what now, if, hen, I have become a silenced counselor and muted messenger, any etz yabish. Yasha'yah 56-3. Yahowah has provided some additional advice. How you respond is up to you. My hope is that in a world rife with irrational and immoral thought police and muddled in conspiracy theories that our message will not be drowned out by the many complainers and critics, nor muted too soon by the resolutely political. 22 years ago, I was alone apart from Yah, and now there are many, a family of covenant members all devoted to bringing you this message. God is not going to allow his witness to be drowned out or suppressed. Together, we will prevail, and largely as a result of our Shabat Torah study program. To the contrary, this is what, Yahowah says on behalf of individuals who have been castrated as a result of the positions they have taken as leaders, series of those who provide guidance regarding the benefits of the relationship, Asher, by being consistently observant and actively attentive, Shema, during my Shabbats, Shabbatoth 176 ani, who evaluate and choose, Basher, to walk along the correct path, Bar Asher, in deference to me, out of respect for me and to please me, eager to experience this with me, Chafetz, and, Wah, who are willing to demonstrate an intense desire to learn about, to be steadfastly committed to, and to become empowered, Chazak, by my covenant, Barbarith Eni. Yasha'yah 56-4. I will offer, freely giving, Wa Nathan, to them, Lahem, in my home and in my family, Barbaith Eni, and within my protected enclosure, Wa Bar Chama Eni, an outstretched, welcoming, and empowering hand, Yod, and a name, Wa Shem, even better, Tob, than other sons and daughters, Min Ben Wa Min Bath. I will give to him and them, Nathan Lahu, Hem, an everlasting and eternal, Olam, designation and reputation, Shem, which, for having shared the benefits of the relationship, Asher, will never be removed or taken away, Lo Karath. Yasha'yah 56-5. The children, Wa Beni, of the Nekar, observant and discerning foreigner, Ha Nekar, have formed a relationship with, Ha Lawa al, Yahowah. They serve him, La Sharathu, in love with, Wa La Ehabeth, Yahowah's Yahowah, name, Shem, seeking to exist as his co-workers, La Haya La Hu La Ebed, always observing, Shel Shema, the Shabat, making it special by not disrespecting it, Min Chol Hu. They willingly demonstrate an intense desire to learn about, Chazak, my covenant, Barbarith Eni. Yasha'yah 56-6. It is my desire, Tafala Eni, to bring, Wabo, them to my set-apart mountain, Hem El HaKodesh 177 Ani, and cause them to rejoice, such that they are elated, Wasamak Hem, in the family, Barbaith. Their uplifting sacrifices and elevating offerings, Olahem Wa Zebach Hem, will be accepted and favored, La Ratzon, on my altar, Al-Miz Beach Eni. This is because, my house, Baith Eni, my home and family, shall be called, Kara, a home, Baith of intervention, of reasoned requests and sound judgment, Tafala, for the entire family, La Shel Ha'am. Yasha'yah, Yahowah saves, Isaiah 56-7. These are transformative words, serving as a life-changing revelation. This epitomizes the purpose of Towrah, and it affirms the simple truth that the will of God is to establish his covenant family and enjoy developing a productive relationship with his children. We are intervening on your behalf, translating Yahowah's words from a language too few understand, into the lingua franca of the world. And our offering to our God is your soul, delivered safely before him. These prophetic writings we have been reviewing, and will continue to examine, prove conclusively that Yahowah is God. He has just provided a list of things common to those who are invited into his home. And God is celebrating his relationship with his children, showering them with everlasting gifts. As never before, with a greater sense of urgency than we have experienced, God is calling his people home. The prophets were inspired for this purpose. Yahowah, my upright one and foundation, Edeni, who gathers, Kabats, yet again, Od, the scattered, Nadak, of Yisrael, announces, in advance of it occurring, Naum, I will assemble, bringing together, Kabats, before him, Al-Hu, those he has obtained by encouraging them to be 178 called out, and to draw near, La Kabats Hu. Yasha'yah 56-8. While that is our message, and while everyone is invited, most will exclude themselves, blinded by religion, confused by conspiracy, and misguided by politics. And leading the parade to Shaul will be rabbis. His watchmen, those assigned to be Israel's lookouts, protecting Yahweh, Zaphahu, are blind, Ewa. They are all, Shurlhem, ignorant and opposed to Yada, without understanding, without revelation or respect, and are thus clueless, Lo Yada. They are universally, Shurlhem, dumb dogs, incapable of intelligent speech, Ilan Keleb, without the capacity to understand or the ability to prevail, unqualified and incapable, utterly incompetent, Lo Yakol, barking and howling in incomprehensible fashion, babbling Babylonian prophets, La Nabak, panting while dreaming, Hazza, lying around smitten with their inactivity and lack of awareness, Shakab Ahab La Num. Yasha'yah 56:10. These dogs, Waha Keleb, have the soul of a goat, as they are stubborn, aggressive, and disagreeable creatures, who are bitterly antagonistic, easy Nipesh. They never acknowledge that they have taken too much, never admitting that they are gluttonous sexual deviants, unrestrained and insatiable, wallowing in abundance, Lo Yada Sabar. Those tending the flock, Wahem Ra, are ignorant and irrational, devoid of understanding, clueless and disrespectful, neither perceiving nor comprehending, and thus lacking the capacity to teach, Lo Yada Bin. All of them have turned to their own way, Shurlhem La Derek Hem Pana, every man after his own ill-gotten gain and dishonest advantage, Ishla Betzahu, 179 without exception or restraint, Min Katsehu. Yasha'yah 56:11. At this time, among his people, there is an object of God's ire, rabbis. Yahweh loathes them even more than they disdain God. And he will hold them accountable for what they have done to drive a wedge between him and his people. When we survey the abuse which has been directed toward Israel and Yahudah by nations and religions, the most menacing institution of all has been Judaism. While the rabbis will continue to conspire, they will soon come to regret what they have done, not because of the casualties they have inflicted, but because there will be recompense. And especially humiliating for them, the Gawi they have come to despise will be judging them. That may be the final mission of this messenger. And between then and now, there will be a gleaning of the covenant's children. It will occur on Towrah, between 2027 and 2029, not that the religious will notice. Come, let us consent to assemble together and agree to change everything around Otter. Let us reach for and receive, Lakek the wine, Yain, drinking alcoholic beverages, Sheker, to remain inebriated and intoxicated, Saba. For tomorrow, Machar, will be like, Wahayakar, this day, Zayyaum, with us more powerful and important, Gadal, even more exalted and wealthier, enriched through the binding nature of religion, Yether, exerting our power and influence, Maud. Yasha'yah 56:12. Then, those who are right, Zadik, will vanish, disappearing such that those who remain will not know where they have gone, Abad. And no one will give it 180 any thought, pondering the implications, Wa'inish Simel Labe. Loyal and devoted individuals, Ish Kesed, will be harvested, gathered together and taken away, Asaph, while no one makes the connection to comprehend what will have occurred, Bar and Bin. For indeed, Ky, away from, Min, the presence of, Hannah, this disastrous calamity and miserable suffering, this wickedness and wrongdoing, Ra, those who are correct, Hazadik, will be withdrawn, Asaph. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 57:1. And then, he will arrive, Bo, on behalf of those who have been reconciled and saved, Shalom. They will be spiritually allied, Nuvak, within, his hue, restful environs, Mishkab, walking in a manner which is right, honest, fitting, and proper, Holoknakoch, with her, high. Yasha'yah 57:2. The fulfillment of the Mikra of Towrah will precede the worst of the time of Jacob's troubles. Yahweh will be removing his family, bringing them home. For a while, this will leave only his words and these translations of them. Shortly thereafter, Yahweh's spirit will return within the two witnesses, providing one last opportunity to come home. Just 3 years thereafter, Yahweh, himself, will return on behalf of the recently reconciled. It is right, fitting, and proper. It is my hope and indeed, God's, that you exit this planet with us, so that you do not have to endure what those who remain will experience. There will be pestilence and war, natural disasters and economic collapse, all while the world promotes its favorite conspiracy, blame the Jews. Earlier, I said with us, because the Gawi of whom Yahweh has been speaking will be withdrawn on this day along with other members of Yahweh's covenant family. 181 His vacation, however, will be short by human standards because he will return with Eliah 6 months later on Passover. Addressing the religious in the interim, God laments. But as for you, Atom, who are present, Carib, here and now, Henna, you are children of fortune-tellers who are blowing smoke, Beni Anan, the seed, Zerah, of adultery, of being unfaithful by being religious, Naph, and of prostitution, Wazana. Yasha'yah 57:3. Over whom and upon what basis, Almai, are you effeminate and overly sensitive individuals exploiting and mocking, Anag? Against what and whom, Almai, do you open your mouth and boast, Rachel Pei, sticking out your tongues and prolonging your speeches, Arak Lashon. Are you not, Lo Atom, the children, Yeled, of rebellion who rose up in clear defiance of authority, Pesha, the seed of, Zerah, vain and useless liars with mistaken beliefs, Shekah. Yasha'yah 57-4. Are you not those who burn with lust and rage, Harkamam, over the lamb and leadership, Bahar-El, and under, Taketh, every spreading tree, Shurletz Ronan, killing the children, Shakat Ha-Yeled, within the depressions, Bahar-Nakal, beneath the clefts in the rock, Taketh saith Ha-Selah. Yasha'yah 57-5. Your fate, Chalakath, grave, and inheritance, Nakal, are among, Bar, the smooth-talking and insulting flatterers and thieves, Chelek. Where they go is your lot, Shem Bokar Goralath. And for them, Gamlahem, you have poured out drink offerings, Shafak, uplifting, Allah, grain offerings, Mincha. For these things, Ha-Alel-Li, 182 shall I relent and change my mind, Nachum. Yasha'yah 57-6. On a high mountain, you have arrogantly, Al-Ha-Gaboah, made, Sum, your bed, Mishkabath, raising it up and advocating it, Nasa. Additionally, Gam, there, Sham, you ascribed status to yourselves, Allah, while slaughtering the living, Sabak. Yasha'yah 57-7. Then lingering at another, Wachar, door, Deleth, and upon its framework, Wamazuzah, you have set up and placed, Sim, your own memorial and maxims, Zikaran Ath. Indeed, KY, separated from me, Mineth Eni, you have revealed and uncovered, Galah, your bed and death bier, Mishkabath. You have also climbed up into it, Allah, enlarging it to accommodate many, Rachab. Then, Wah, you established, Karath, for yourselves and with them, Lath Minhem, fellow devotees and lovers, Ahab, in whose bed, Mishkabhem, you have beheld, Chaza, their phalluses, Yod. Yasha'yah 57-8. The rabbis are hideous prostitutes, parading around and promoting themselves for money. But it is all smoke and mirrors. They are exploiting their brethren while wagging their tongues at God. Their religion is comprised of mistaken beliefs and exists solely for their enrichment. They have forestalled the benefits of the Passover lamb and, they have thereby, deprived their children of life. The messages they fold up and place within the cracks of the rocks comprising the western wall, while bobbing their heads in prayer, determine their fate, which is to be buried among fellow thieves. Yahweh will not relent. He will continue to reject those who have blocked the door to life. In a religion fixated on empowering men over women, and indeed over 183 God, their fascination with their phallus will be their undoing. The God of Judaism is indistinguishable from Moloch, the Lord to whom the misguided sacrificed their infants long ago. You have descended, lowering yourself by showing regard for, Shah, Moloch, to whom Israelites sacrificed their infants, as if he were sovereign, Laha Moloch, with, bar, oil, semen, and numerous perfumes along with your ointments, Warabaraquak, sending out, Salah, delegations of your anguished envoys, Seirath, as witnesses into perpetuity, add, unto the distant separation of, Minrakak, the humbling and lowly status, Shafal, endured upon reaching, add, Shal. Yasha'yah 57-9. Shaul, hell is where the rabbis are headed. Having denied that such a place exists in their Babylonian Talmud, they will find that they were wrong. There is no saving these charlatans or the religious whom they have misled. Briefly reinvigorated by the departure of the covenant family, they will lie with their last breath. With the variation and duration of your long rabbinical, Bar-Rob, journey, your ways, Derekath, have become wearisome, Yugga, but you are never willing to admit, Lo Amar, it is hopeless and futile, Yarash. Reinvigorated, Chea, you have expressed and extended, Matzah, your influence, Yodath, such that you attempt to show no weakness, Al-Ken Lo Shala. Yasha'yah 57-10. Even in all of its variations, Judaism has never prevailed, having never made life better for the children of Israel. It takes a special kind of stubborn to continue doing that which remains counterproductive. 184 Therefore, God asks his people these probing questions. What did you find so troubling that you were afraid of me, YF my Dagwa such that, KY, you became deceptive in so many ways you have become proven liars, weaving your delusions on behalf of a false god, Kazab. You have not thought about these things, nor have you been inclined to, while lo simil labath joth, be associated with me, Etheni, and you have not mentioned me because you do not remember who I am, lo Zakar. Have I been negated because I have been silent, ha lo eni chasha? Has it been so long, min olam, you do not respect me and are against me, etheni lo yer? Yasha'yah 57:11. To the Orthodox and Haredim, Yahweh unequivocally states, You have not mentioned me because you do not remember who I am. Rabbis represent rabbis, not God. If you do not believe me, read their Babylonian Talmud, listen to their words, or consider God's and compare his to theirs. It is true, Yahweh has been silent for a very long time, having last spoken to his people through Malachi in 450 BCE. It is not that God wanted to step away, but that there would be no one after Malachi through whom to communicate. That is, not until today. While not a prophet, nor a Yahweh, a Gawi was chosen to deliver this message. On behalf of those who have been harmed by rabbinical pontifications, Yahweh's Nakar and Shota will be asked to seek recompense. He will do to the rabbis as he has already done to Paul and Muhammad, which is to convict them with their own words, leaving them without excuse. Yahweh states. 185 I will correctly recount your work, accurately portraying your customs and practices, any nagad zardaka YYV1C4 maseath, but it will not be to your benefit, while o yalath. Yasha'yah 57:12. Their Talmud will be their undoing. Should you want a taste of what is to come for their brethren in Islam and Christianity, read Prophet of Doom, Islam's terrorist dogma in Muhammad's own words and questioning Paul, liars lie, Torahless, devil's advocate, and incredible, or Babel, beast, abominable, and venomous. Yahweh's response to the rabbis will be identical to the method he sponsored throughout these books. Our work together will come full circle and hit very close to home. For the rabbis, it will be like vomiting upwind. When you finally cry out for help, Bar Zakath, let your assemblies and what you have accepted, Kaibuzath, save you, Natsalath. Every one of these meaningless and futile things, as if they were a fleeting breath, Wa'eth Shurl Hem Hebel, the spirit, Ruwak, will grasp hold of and carry away, Nasalakak. But, the one who takes refuge in me, Hachesa Bar Eni, will inherit, Nahol, the land, Eres, and become an heir to, Yarash, my set-apart mountain, Ha-Kodesh Eni. Yasha'yah 57:13. The choice remains and it is yours to make. It seems like a rather easy one to me. Then someone will make this announcement, Wahama, you should choose of your own free will to regard and respect, Silal, this about-face, turning around and observing the signs before the appearance, Hannah, of the way, Derek, choosing to take action to remove, Room, the obstructions and impediments which are stumbling blocks, Mikshal, from the 186 elevated path, Min Masala, for my family, am any. Yasha'yah 57:14. Listen to Yah. He is saying that having been wrong, we can become right, and thus forgiven. 4, KY, thus, Ko, says, Amar, the one who lifts up, Room, and the one who carries away those he has forgiven, Wanasa, who lives, Sarkin, forever as an eternal witness, Ad, the one whose name, Washem Hu, is set apart, Kodesh. He will dwell, Sarkin, in the set apart, Kodesh, heights of heaven, Ma'am, along with, Wa'eth, those slandered for having unpretentiously regretted and corrected their mistakes, Daka, in addition to the spirit, Waruwak, of the abased, Shafal. The spiritually abused, Shafal, will be revived and restored, Lachea, while invigorating and enlivening, Lachea, the heart, mind and soul, Labe, of the unpretentious and contrite, Daka. Yasha'yah 57:15. Yahweh is fond of the unpretentious and contrite, those willing to admit that they have been wrong and who are appreciative of what God is offering. Therefore, those the religious have sought to discredit and demean will be rewarded for eschewing man's lies while embracing the truth. But we are running out of time. If you are going to join us, you need to be ready to go. 4, KY, I will not quarrel, contend with, or plead, lo ribe, forever, la olam, nor will my frustration and my righteous indignation, walo katsaf, be unending, la netsak. Indeed, KY, before my appearance, min la pana eni, the spirit, ruwak, will lose contact and ebb away, ataf, along with, the conscience, neshama, I have acted upon and endeavored to engage, asar. Yasha'yah 57:16. 187 Our God-given neshama, conscience is the one thing that provides humankind the opportunity to be more than an animal, and to rise up to Yah. It, however, is failing rapidly. People of every ethnicity and culture are losing the capacity and will to think. And with a dysfunctional neshama, God becomes unknowable. With the Ruwak Kodesh, set-apart spirit no longer providing her counsel, and with men and women mentally incapacitated in the years prior to Yahweh's return with Dowd, the world is going to come crashing down upon those who remain. The resulting perversity and depravity will, for a time, drive God away as humankind descends into darkness. With the perversity and depravity associated with, Bar A1, his ill-gotten gain, Betsahu, I was provoked to anger, Katsaf. I lashed out at him, Nakahu, concealing myself, Wasatar, due to my displeasure, Katsaf. Nonetheless, he went on backsliding, walking in a rebellious fashion, Holok Shobab, by way, Bar Derek, of his thinking and inclinations, Lab Hugh. Yasha'yah 57:17. That is not to say that there will be no hope, only that the light which flickers will be akin to a lamp juxtaposed against a nuclear blast. The witnesses will be here along with the Torah. Therefore, I have considered, his ways, Derek Hugh, but nonetheless, I will heal him, Rapha Hugh. I will lead and guide him, Naka Hugh, to reconciliation and restoration, Shalem, providing comfort and compassion to him, Mishum Imla Hugh, and to those who are grieving, Walaibel Hugh. Yasha'yah 57:18. When I bring about, Barbara, the fruit, Naub, of the lips, Sappha, there will be reconciliation and restoration, fellowship and redemption, friendship through the relationship, bringing contentment, 188 blessings, and salvation, Shalom, for those who are afar, Ha-Rechauk, and for those who are nearby, Wala Ha-Karob, says Amar, Yahowah. Then I will heal him, restoring him to favor and health, Rafahu. Yasha'yah 57:19. The Torah's purpose is to perfect the imperfect. Shalom is the result. One of the many things I have come to despise about the overtly religious, political, patriotic, liberal, and conspiratorial, is that they are incapable of recognizing that they are wrong and do not know when to shut up. Fortunately, God has a plan to remedy that. However, the wickedly wrong and condemnable, the ungodly and unjustified, those who remain errant and are guilty of continuing to violate the standard, Rasha, including those who have been stirred up, will be banished like the retreating tide, Garosh, of the sea, Yam, because, they cannot remain silent or be at peace because all they know is dissatisfaction and strife, Shakat. They do not have the capacity to understand or prevail, and unable to process this information correctly, they will fail to grasp its meaning and cease to exist, Lo Yakol. And so, the muck and mire of the malleable and impressionable clay, Refeshwatit, of these waters, Maim Hugh, will be stirred up and tossed around by the motion of the retreating waves, then expelled and banished like the retreating tide, Garosh. Yasha'yah 57:20. It is impossible to reason with the religious, the overtly political, or the conspiratorial. Their minds are like mush, a mix of muck and mire. They will never understand. And thus, our message is not for them. 189. Since we are just getting to know one another, it is time I interject a strong dose of reality for you to consider. God, himself, cannot save a religious, political, patriotic, or conspiratorial individual, nor would he do so even if it were possible. Irrefutable evidence which disproves the beliefs that the faithful hold dear is always rejected while the source of such information is demeaned. There are no exceptions. And the problem is pervasive. Only 16% of the world's population claims to be non-religious. And that is a largely inaccurate self-assessment. The preponderance of secular individuals has been indoctrinated by academia, the media, and political parties to accept socialist, humanist, multiculturalist, and progressive, even communist ideologies where facts are considered irrelevant, and logic is perceived as antiquated. Further, the fastest growing belief system, conspiracy, is the least rational, and it boasts as many adherents from the left as from the right. From the erroneous claims of Black Lives Matter to the false assumptions of the anti-vaxxers, conspiracies have become the world's most disorienting and deceitful addictions. Fully aware of the pervasive and toxic influence of religion, politics, patriotism, liberal ideologies, and conspiracy, Yahowah bluntly stated at the conclusion of the second statement he inscribed on the first of the 2 stone tablets, that his mercy would be for the thousands willing to closely examine and carefully consider the instructive conditions of his covenant agreement. Thousands among billions are 1 in a million. Heaven has never been, nor will it ever be, popular. If you have succumbed to and remain influenced by the lure of any religion, the political ideology of the left or right, liberal or conservative, if you embrace patriotism, including the support of one's troops, or, heaven forbid, have bought into some conspiratorial notion to absolve yourself of responsibility for an unfulfilling life, please set 190 this book down and kindly walk away, and never return. God not only recognizes that such individuals are incapable of processing what he has to say, he wants nothing to do with them. Now, let's assume that you have already disassociated yourself from these caustic and controlling influences, another issue remains. If your involvement with Yahowah is predicated upon the hope that those you love will join you, that is not going to happen should their conscience and resulting judgment have been rendered ineffective by any of these adversarial notions. Therefore, there will be no reconciliation, restoration, or salvation, Ein Shalom, my God says, Amar Elohim Eni, for those who are wrong and unjustified, Rasha. Yasha'yah 57:21. For those who have disavowed man's way and who are eager to be right, who are still willing to listen, they will likely find Yahweh's words appealing. Sharing them with you has become our life's work, the ongoing celebration of Towrah. Choose to call out a summons and proclamation, reading this aloud during the announcement while issuing an invitation to be called out, choosing to recite what is written about entering into the company of God and being received and welcomed by Him, Kara. Do not spare your throat or hold back in your speech, Bargadan al-Hashak. Lift up, room, your voice, cowl otter, as if it were a shofar, trumpet comprised of the ram's horn which is symbolic of Towrah, Kaha Shofar. Choose to boldly announce this report openly and publicly in a straightforward fashion, conspicuously informing by choosing to convey this warning, Wanagad, to my people, La'aneni, to the house of 191 Yaakov, to the family of Israel, while our Beth Yaakov, they are in religious rebellion and political revolt, defiant and indignant, Peshahem, and they are wrong, having missed the way, they are forfeiting their opportunity by having gone astray, Shatachem. Yasha'yah, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 58:1. This mission is as vital as it is difficult. And God appreciates what we are up against because He has been battling against these same adversaries for thousands of years. As a result, all Yahowah asks of us is that we give His wayward people our best effort. We have been asked to pronounce His invitation, to not hold anything back, to lift up our voice, and to boldly proclaim what Israel needs to hear. Yahowah's assessment of His people is identical to what I have just shared. He holds no illusions. He knows that most cannot be saved, and He is not trying to do so. While He realizes that thousands will respond and come home, He simply wants the millions who are religious and political to be without excuse. But do you know why a Gawi was chosen to deliver this message rather than a Yahweh? Yasha'yah knew. Truth is lacking, and no one is honest. Wahaya ha emith adar, the truth has gone missing because there is a lack of integrity, and no one is dependable. Furthermore, anyone who turns away from what is wrong, so min ra, who departs from that which is perverted and objectionable, harmful and disagreeable, is victimized and is attacked and discredited, shalal, abused then plundered. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 59:15. When, Yahowah, Yahowah, witnesses this, it is disturbing, it is displeasing and perverse in His sight, and Hugh, that, indeed, no 192 exercises good judgment, mishpat, no one is just, fair, or moral. Yasha'yah 59:16. He has looked and seen, that there was not a single individual, So, he was devastated, shamam, he was appalled, that there was no one to intercede and plead his case, paga, that there was no one to intervene. It was then, his Zarowa, the one who sows his seeds and shepherds the flock, Zarowa Hugh, his capable arm, the prevailing and effective nature, resolve, and ability of his leader and guide, his productive and protective ram, the defender and caretaker engaged as a shepherd among his sheep who is fruitful in his ways, accomplishing his mission, especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing the purpose of the arm of God and that of his shepherds and sacrificial lamb, came to the rescue on his behalf, Yasha'yah, delivered for him, liberating and freeing those approaching him. Therefore, the realization that he was right and had engaged correctly, Zadaka the fact he was correct, had decided fairly, and had acted in accord with the standard, and had worked on behalf of being vindicated, the size from one Kesser, was upheld and sustained, Samak was supported and established, embraced and put to rest, even relied and capitalized upon. Yasha'yah, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 59:17. Moses, by freeing God's people, delivering the Torah, and bringing the children of Israel to the promised land, has fulfilled his mission as the first Zarowa. Then by serving as the Passover lamb, Dowd became Yahowah's mightiest Zarowa. So, it now appears that after having given up searching for a Israelite to convey his message, Yahowah has 193 deployed a third Zarowa, someone not in the league of the other two, but nonetheless someone willing to advance his purpose by sowing the seeds found in the Torah and prophets. The last Zarowa, shepherd serving as the arm of God to lead his flock back home is not only right, his assessments, conclusions, and insights will be upheld and sustained. As endorsements go, this is as good as it gets. Moreover, he has been dressed for success as he engages in battle to protect God's flock. He will be adorned, while lavish, he will be clothed correctly in righteousness, Zardaka, in what is considered right, acquitting and vindicating, just and fair, honest and reliable, as a breastplate and coat of armor, Kahar as a form of protection, thwarting any attack, and a helmet, Wakauba, a protective head covering worn by someone engaged in battle, of deliverance, Yasha'yah, of liberation, freedom, and salvation, will be on his head, Bar Rosh Hu. He will be clothed, lavish, he will be dressed and adorned, in garments, vidged, in apparel, in a cloak, of retribution, nakam, designed to inflict vengeance and repay harm with hostility, to punish and avenge, as a raiment, tolbosheth, and he will be covered, wa-otter, as if cloaked in, male passion and desire, kina, the devotion and zeal of knowing that he has a perceived advantage in advocating exclusivity in the relationship. Yasha'yah, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 59:18. Yahowah adorns all of his covenant children in a garment of light to protect and empower us, but this is a bit more than standard issue. This Zarowa is going to war, battling those who have misled and abused God's people, knowing that he will become a target, and that the religious, political, militant, and conspiratorial will want him silenced, if not dead. He is being protected. We are witnessing echoes from the 91 Psalm 194. God is tasking this shepherd with something I did not appreciate until recently. For Yah to be just, for him to be fair, for there to be closure, there must be recompense. Those who were tortured by Egyptians and Assyrians, Romans and Roman Catholics, Muslims, and Nazis should know that those who tormented them will suffer a similar fate. Further, the victims of pedophiles, rapists, terrorists, and sadists should be allowed to witness those who abused them endure what they inflicted. Those who have avidly promoted deadly deceptions must be held accountable, and this Zarowa is going to seek retribution, standing up against those who deliberately hurt others. When it comes to the torture of his people and the imposition of religious subjugation, Yahowah is not forgiving. To be fair, just, and moral, a penalty will be imposed which fits the crime. This Zarowa's passion to serve Yahowah, and his people demands no less. So, rest assured, the Naka, observant and responsive foreigner will be judgmental. Achieving recompense will be among the little Zarowa's contributions to God's people. With Yahowah's support, the Chota will honor his father's wishes and provide a sense of closure for the children of Israel. Seeking recompense in accordance with their deeds, requiring a penalty and reprimand as a form of repayment commensurate and consistent with what they have done, he will achieve a sense of closure, he will compensate the victims, restoring a sense of fairness, repaying the guilty for what they have done, fulfilling the will of God in the process, showing righteous indignation, displaying antagonism, a strong sense of displeasure, and overt hostility toward his opponents and adversaries, toward those who are opposed to him and who seek to restrict and 195 confine him, narrowing his outreach while seeking to harm him, by doing what is necessary and deserved, for achieving what is right, advantageous, and beneficial, fully dealing out repayment, against those showing animosity and rancor toward him, hating those who are adversarial and hostile toward his people. Against a land of woe surrounded by water with greedy people living along the coasts, toward a covetous nation spanning between large bodies of water where most lustful people live near the sea which has inflicted hardship and distress, he will complete the requirement to obtain restitution, he will fulfill the need to find closure, based upon what was done and is deserved, in accordance with their deeds, requiring an appropriate penalty and reprimand commensurate with the crime which has been committed. Yasha'yah, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 59:19. Yahowah is committed to holding those who have harmed his people accountable. His penalty will fit the crime. The souls of those who persecuted Jews will be anguished. These religious sadists and political despots will experience a semblance of what they perpetrated. What is interesting here is not only Yahowah's insistence on being fair and providing closure but that he has assigned his Zarowa to seek justice. Clearly, Dowd wants his enemies punished, but it seems to be beneath the king's dignity and demeanor to orchestrate such a thing, and frankly, David is too sentimental. And if it is unfair to task Dowd with doing so, then this job ought not to be assigned to God either, not after all people have done to him, especially now when he will be celebrating the new additions to his covenant family. It would not be fair to distract him from the happiest moments of his life. With 1,000,000 Malak and the Ruach Kodesh at the ready, the little Z will do what must be done in a resolutely rational 196 and just manner. And quite frankly, there is a growing list of horrible people I'd enjoy sending to Shaul. The coastal reference in the preceding statement could be directed toward the pretend Philistines of our day, the terrorists known as the Palestinians. They are deserving of a woe and are certainly greedy. But based upon what we find in Yasha'yah, Isaiah 17 and 18, the ultimate woe of woes was directed squarely at the United States, which was specifically labeled an E in that prophecy. So, we might rightly conclude that this Zarowa is going to actively hold America accountable for what the nation has done to aggravate and arm Muslims, even for their support of the two-state solution which will be adversarial to Israel. Should you be confused by America's perceived support and lip service toward Israel, recognize how hollow the nation's promises became to the Vietnamese, Afghans, and Iraqis, or previously to the Native Americans, British, French, Spanish, or Mexicans. It remains unlikely that Dowd will be concerned about America. And clearly, there is nothing in the resume of Mose that would suggest that he would be inclined to execute judgment. Therefore, it is looking more and more like there is a final Zarowa, a little z in the shadow of the mighty Zarowa of old. And if he is also Yada, the Chota and Naka, rest assured, he is appropriately judgmental. Then, there will be one suited to deliver recompense who requires restitution, Gal, one who redeems the deprived by eliciting retribution, demanding that there is a repayment to provide relief on behalf of those who have been wronged, one who claims kinship and is committed to avenging wrongs, particularly bloodshed and bondage. Those who are part of Yaakov, Wabar Yaakov, those in Israel, will turn away from, Lashu, will change and be restored, their political revolt and 197 religious rebellion, Pesha, their overt and public defiance and offense nature, prophetically declares, Naum, Yahowah, an accurate presentation of the name of Eloah, God as guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his higher existence. Yasha'yah, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 59:20. While Dowd is Israel's kinsman redeemer, it is within his purview to delegate the more menial aspects of that process. By offering his people immortality on Pesach, ransoming them from Shaul on Matzah, and providing them with an inheritance on Bikurim, father and son did the heavy lifting. However, acquitting those who are right is only half of the equation. To be just, those who have been egregiously wrong must pay a price. Therefore, Yah will require restitution by assuring that those who have been wronged will be comforted, which requires him to punish those who victimized them. Doing so will likely be the little z's final assignment. This is divine justice carried out on behalf of the victims against their assailants. It is about facilitating closure, providing the oppressed and tortured with what they need to finally rest in peace, which is to know that those who inflicted pain will suffer for what they have done. While the indignity and injury will be perceived as real, realize that we are dealing with souls, not bodies. It will be the nepesh of the rabbis which will be humiliated while the souls of deceased priests will be demeaned. The consciousness of imams will be dutifully terrorized. Symbolically, those who perpetrated the Inquisition will be made to endure the devices they deployed. The anti-Semitic will experience their own Holocaust. Metaphorically, the Taliban will be dressed in burqas and then whipped by women. The agony inflicted upon these disembodied souls will be endured sevenfold. 198. If this makes you squeamish, then you should be thankful that you are not the little z. However, if you think that this is inappropriate, then your neshama, conscience may have failed. So that you are aware, I did not know that Yahowah would be deploying a third Zarowa until I was in the process of translating Yasha'yah's prophecies for this chapter of an introduction to God. And even then, I was unwilling to accept this realization until there was no other rational option. I was similarly unaware that God would use him as an implement of righteous indignation and divine judgment. However, none of this should have come as a surprise. Ever since having compiled Prophet of Doom, questioning Paul, and now, Babel, I have asked God for a limited license on the latter. I have wanted to serve as a witness at the trials of Paul and Muhammad and would like to contribute to condemning Akiba and Maimonides based upon the evidence presented against them in the Yada Yahowah volumes, invitations, harvests, and appointments. I want each of them to endure the consequence of their own words. And rest assured, there are many more besides them. Keep in mind, these trials and subsequent penalties will not only be just, the verdicts and punishments will have been earned. And since the physical bodies of these men will have been consumed by worms, all that will be left are their rotting souls. Therefore, there will be no actual implements of torture, even for those who unmercifully wielded them, but, instead, the imposition of a spiritual force that will require these reprehensible souls to experience the humiliation, degradation, and pain they inflicted. While I am too soft-hearted to watch an animal suffer, I am exceedingly judgmental and recognize the importance of holding the wicked accountable, a fact that should now be obvious. Therefore, should Yahowah choose to deploy 199 his final Zarowa in this role, under the right conditions and with the proper support, I may be serviceable. And should you wonder why God wouldn't simply handle this himself, the answer is that it isn't in his nature, and it would defeat his purpose. From the moment he shaped Adam, Yahowah has chosen to work alongside his creation. Yahowah did not build the ark, Noach did in accordance with God's instructions. The Almighty would work alongside Moses to liberate his people and reveal his Torah. Dowd would slay the Philistine, defend Yah's flock, acquire Yerushalayim, and write the songs which would inspire everyone, including God, and then serve to fulfill Chag Matzah. Everything we are reading he conveyed through a prophet. So why would we think that at this late date Yahowah is going to change his approach? After all, he is returning with Dowd, and making him king, for a reason. The 59th chapter of Yasha'yah, Isaiah concludes with this statement from our God. As for me, YYV1C4, this is my covenant, Dabarym, this is my family and relationship agreement, with them, Ethem, announces, Amar, Yahowah, written as directed by his Torah, teaching. For the benefit of the relationship, Asher, to show the way to get the greatest enjoyment out of life, YYV1C4, my spirit, YYV1C4, is upon you, Alota, over, before, and beside you, singular masculine. And to show the way to the relationship, Asher, to reveal the path and provide the benefits, I have placed, I have set, my words, Dabarym, in your mouth, bar peota. Therefore, what comes from your mouth, min peota, shall not fail nor cease, lo mobsh, they will not stop nor be taken away, nor out of the mouths of your offspring, min pe zerata, from what is sown by 200 you, nor from the declarations sown through your seeds, min pe zerata, says Amar, Yahowah, an accurate presentation of the name of Eloah, God as guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his higher existence, from this moment, minota, and forevermore, olam. Yasha'yah, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 59:21. This is the result of the 7 spirits of Yahowah inspiring the Zarowa, and assisting those who have come to know the Almighty through him. Moreover, our words are God's words because we are translating his words. Therefore, since his words are eternal, our words will endure the test of time. When we prioritize what is important to Yahowah, we find his name, his word, his covenant, and his spirit, just as they are all depicted here. These things of God represent the seeds of life which, when sown and cultivated, grow to become his children. While I was invited to participate in this relationship, just 32 years prior to Yahowah's return, I have had the joy of seeing the seeds I have sown take root and produce 3 successive generations of covenant members. The remarkable woman who publishes these books has witnessed her children and grandchildren grow with year. She even has a granddaughter who wears the name of the previous chapter with great distinction, Kara. With all she has done to make it possible for you to read his words, I am delighted to see Yahowah acknowledging Jackie. It is my hope that we have now moved past the little Z and back to the greatest of them, my hero, Dowd. I suspect 201 that this is the case because Yahowah has specifically announced that he would awaken the king at this time. And God has revealed that, upon his return, Dowd will be as brilliant as the sun. Should Yahowah, however, be continuing to tell us about his little Z, then there will be light after the pursuit of recompense. He may be asked to explain how all of what was foretold ultimately transpired. This could be story time around the Sukkah campfire, an opportunity for Yahowah's young family to appreciate what was done to make this day possible. And yet, there is yet another option. Since the little Z will be serving alongside Eliah as one of the 2 witnesses, this may be the prophet's portrayal of him in that role. If so, he is a herald, exposing a dark world to the light which is to come. If so, he will be like Eliah in that both men are intolerant of the religious, political, and conspiratorial, and they will seek and obtain immediate retribution against the fools still advancing such horrid notions. No matter which of these scenarios is now intended, keep in mind that this individual is a product of Yahowah's spiritual development, even if this is addressing Dowd. What God does for one of his children, he intends for all of us. It is one of many reasons Dowd's initial life sits at the center of Yahowah's developing story. Along these lines, the light which is returning is the Ruach Kodesh, set-apart spirit referenced in the previous statement. Both verbs, korm and were conveyed in the second-person singular feminine, and as a noun, like Ruach, is also feminine. Whereas by contrast, the one who is coming to convey Yahowah's significance is again masculine singular. Most of the terms Yahowah cherishes, Torah, Barith, and Ruach, for example, are feminine. Further, 202 although the name, Yahweh, was first given to one of Jacob's and Leah's sons, as a result of the ending, it is a feminine noun. I share this because while the mighty Zarowa were men, Moses and Dowd, it is also a feminine noun. Therefore, the pronouns used regarding the Zarowa must be feminine, even when referencing one of these men. And with Dowd, this is especially insightful since it was through his nipesh, soul, feminine in Hebrew, that he was able to fulfill Chag Matzah. The combination of these factors suggests that the Ruach Kodesh, set-apart spirit will be the light and source of enlightenment within this Zarowa. Since she will withdraw sometime after the Towrah harvest, it appears that she is returning with one of her own. Choose to rise and shine, korm of your own volition, stand up and enlighten, establishing a source of light. Both verbs are cal-imperative second person singular feminine active, thus addressing the Ruach or Zarowa. For indeed, ky, your light has come, bo or ath, your source of enlightenment, at this moment in time he has arrived, cal perfect third person masculine singular, while the actual light is feminine singular. The presence and overall significance, the manifestation of power, and the resulting reward, Dowd, the splendor and ensuing status, the personal abundance, the distinction and magnificence, of Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence, will come forth, visibly shining, Zarak, he will become apparent as he appears as the dawn, beaming, cal-perfect third-person masculine singular active, upon you, Alath. You is feminine singular and thus addressing the Zarowa. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61. Yahowah, along with his son, Dowd as the king of the Zarowa, are returning to a dark and confused world. 203 By contrast, ky, behold, hine, take note, ignorance, confusion, and terror, choshik, the lack of enlightenment and the dearth of illumination when so much is obscured and unknown, will envelop the earth, kasa eres, will cover the land and conceal the material realm, such that an archaic and misled world, Waleam, will be shrouded in darkness, araful, clouded in gloom, hardship, and trouble, appearing hopeless. But Yahowah will shine upon you, Wazarak Alath, will appear, becoming visible to you, cal-imperfect, and his glorious presence, his power and reward, Wakabout you, his splendor and status, his person and abundance, as well as the significance and distinction of his magnificence, will be seen, Ra, will be witnessed around you, Nephil imperfect, upon you, Alath, you remains singular feminine and thus is addressing the Zarowa. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62. The moment Dowd, David is introduced, he is anointed and then forever enveloped in the set-apart spirit, protecting and inspiring him. And so, with Dowd, we witness Yahowah's presence and power. As marvelous as Dowd's relationship was with Yahowah, he didn't go out of his way to build enduring friendships with Gentiles. And while I anticipate that a time will come when the Messiah will be as popular among his people as he is with others, it is not something we have witnessed thus far. Then even, the Gentiles, Gawim, those who are from different ethnicities and cultures other than Israel, a masculine plural noun, will be drawn, Holok, will travel, walk, and move in the direction, to your light and enlightenment, La or Ath, toward your illuminated and brilliant guidance, with your conveyed in the feminine singular. 204 Those who are thoughtful, Malak, leaders who carefully consider and wisely respond to counsel and advice, will be drawn to your knowledge and brilliance, La Noga, your enlightenment and radiance, which has dawned upon you, Zarakath, which shines forth from your presence and is apparent, in the feminine singular, you remains the Zarowa. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63. If you are contemplative, you will be drawn to Dowd's brilliance. His Mizmor, Psalms, set a new standard in enlightenment. Whether this is the big Z or still the little one, the planet is now enamored by his insights. With a desire to know, people from around the world are listening. Lift up, Nasa, raise, your eyes Einath, your sights, your is feminine singular, and look, Wara, and see, perceiving and witnessing that, all around at your surroundings, Sabibath, at your perimeter. They all gather together, Shurlhem Kabats, they will assemble, and come to you, Bolaath, returning to you, feminine singular and thus to the Zarowa. Your sons, Beniath, will return, Bo, will come, from afar, Min Rachauk, from a great distance away having been alienated and estranged for a long time, and your daughters, Wabathath, your female offspring, at your side, Al-Sad, beside you, will be cared for and attended to, becoming trustworthy and reliable, a man, will be nurtured and raised, supported and enduring, credible and faithful. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 64. It would be unusual for a prophet, even of Yasha'yah's stature, to tell Dowd to lift up his eyes and note his surroundings. He would have held Dowd in too high esteem to give him advice. So, this is not only someone else, a Zarowa of an entirely different strata, based upon all that has been said about him, the little Z is being favorably received by the prophet. Yasha'yah is keen on 205 the idea that people are flocking to him and listening, and I think that is because the little Z is sharing Yasha'yah's message. Clearly, Yasha'yah is relishing every minute. It is as if this is his moment too, a time when his prophecies are finally taking root and making a difference in people's lives. And that is perhaps because the little Z has focused upon conveying the message of the scroll Yasha'yah scribed. Then, at that time, as, simultaneously, you will be perceived, Ra, others will choose to see you, cal-imperfect Joseph feminine singular, as having a positive attitude and joyous countenance, Wa Nahar, as beaming and radiant, illustrious and brilliant, exceedingly bright and happy. He will be respected by some and feared by others. Pochodwa Rachab, he will be broadly known and mostly revered. As a result of, KY, your sense of judgment, Libabath, your attitude, inclinations and conscience, your heart, mind and soul, your character and mindset, the abundance, Hamon, the populace and riches, of the sea, Yam, serving as a metaphor for non-Israelites, and the wealth, Shale, the capabilities and best qualities, the resources and property, of the Gentiles, Gawim, of the people of different races and places, shall come to you, Bolath, shall return and approach because of you. Kalim perfect with you remaining feminine singular. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 65. No matter who this Zarowa may be, Yasha'yah is not only impressed with the result of his deployment, he seems thrilled by the result, and that is a good thing. The great prophet should be universally appreciated, and he deserves to be recognized. 206 Yahowah is pleased, too. Therefore, he asks us to consider, who are these, my Li, why and how, even when and where are those, who fly, Yuf, who hover, moving about in the air, like a cloud, Kah-ha-ab, as if a cloud, like a dove, Wa-kah-ha-yauna, like a bird, to their windows, El-aruba-hem, to penetrate their barriers, provide perspective, and let in the light. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 68. Throughout the Yatzah, Exodus, Yahowah's presence among his people was veiled by a cloud. This way the Israelites would know he was with them without God's brilliance blinding or incinerating them. Similarly, to hover and fly about such a cloud would be to reflect Yah's splendor. When we read we should think of the 7 million Jews in America, the land between the shores of the sea which has been warned and is now being negated. Many will escape from the judgment which awaits today's Babylon. Indeed, KY, those along the shores, those in the land surrounded by water with substantial coastlines which has been warned and now has been negated, have come to confidently expect, Kawa, are now anticipating and awaiting, me to approach. So then, the ships, Onya, the merchant transports and seafaring vessels, from a compound of Oni, a fleet of ocean-going ships and of Tarshish, a synonym for Carthage, the economic empire represented today by the United States, will be the first, Baha Rishon, will be the foremost, to bring, Labo, my son, then any, singular child and first person, from one Kesser versus your sons in the mount, from afar, Min Rachauk, from a great distance away in a future time, that which they value, Kesifhem. Their yearnings and 207 desires, even their money, property, valuables, and silver, and their medium of exchange, Wazahabhem, their gold and wealth, with them, Ethem. For the name, Lashem, of Yahowah, Yahowah, your God, Elohim'ath, the set-apart one, La Kadosh, for the uniquely special one, of Yisrael, individuals who engage and endure with God, he has honored you, raised you up, and endowed you, Pa'ath. He has ascribed you with a high status through his clarifying explanations and by showing his appreciation for this marvelous outcome and for the fruit of this harvest. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 69. Today's Yatzah, Exodus from religious and political Babylon, is diminished by half without inspiring American Jews to come out of her and come home. And so, it appears that the little Z will find some receptive hearts among the stubborn, self-reliant, religious and political, Yahweh. Many will come to confidently anticipate Yahowah's return. Tarshish was one of the central merchant ports of the Carthaginians as they used their formidable navy and reserve currency to rule the seas and control trade. Along the coast of the Iberian Peninsula, Tarshish was as close to the New World as ancient mariners would travel. Further, the Carthaginian Empire was as similar to the American Empire as is possible considering their times. Yahowah's foremost son is Dowd, and yet, we should not expect to see the Messiah returning home by way of Tarshish. So, this is another child of the covenant, one who will be returning along with those he has awakened in the West. There are two ways to interpret the closing phrase. It is either as I have rendered it, with the witness having endowed those anticipating Yahowah's return in America with the honor and status they now deserve, or 208 Yahowah is showing his appreciation of his witness for having done so. Since Dowd has never been in or affiliated with or Tarshish, and cannot be reasonably associated with a dove, he is not the one sailing home from beyond the shores of the Iberian Peninsula. The one being recognized for his clarifying explanations which have led to a productive harvest is the little Z of our day. As a child born into the covenant, he is a son of God. And Yahowah is pleased with his son's willingness to work on behalf of the family. We met the Nakri, my observant foreigner during the dedication of Yahowah's home in Yerushalayim. Having just introduced him as a son, Yahowah has dispensed with the my suffix previously attributed to the Naka and is letting us know that he is doing as Solomon foretold. And so, the children, Beni, the offspring of the observant and responsive foreigner, Naka, the little appreciated and often misunderstood non-Israelite from a distant land who closely examines and carefully considers, then recognizes and acknowledges the truth, making it known through declarative statements, the discerning friend who highly regards what can be perceived and should be respected to elicit the proper response, will re-establish, Banar, will restore and rebuild the means of separation and protection, Chamaath, your walls and means of remaining safe, especially that which appears like a wall but is actually an elevated thoroughfare and pathway, from an unused root meaning to join, making connections, while those who are thoughtful and responsive among them, Malakhem, those who think after careful consideration and then respond intelligently as their leaders, will render assistance and serve you, Sharatath, shall be attentive and helpful. Making a contribution. 209 This is because, KY, in my frustration, Barkays if any, in my animosity as a result of the antagonism, I struck you, Nakaath, I afflicted you, striking you down, but now with my acceptance and approval, Baratson at my pleasure and as an expression of my will, I will be merciful toward you, Rachamath, I will be compassionate and affectionate with you, concerned about our relationship. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:10. Yahweh's Naka has arrived, and his role is to restore and re-establish Israel while encouraging thoughtful and responsive Goim to come to the aid of Yahweh. Should his acknowledgement of the truth resonate with the people, they will experience God's desire to be merciful and compassionate. Having expressed his righteous indignation for so many years, Yahweh seems delighted that he is finally able to convey his affection toward his people. When Yahweh makes a point, expressing the possibilities, there is typically a corollary. For the Gentile, KY Hagawi, and the nation, Waha Mamlaka, as well as the government, which, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, will not work or serve, Abad, expending the energy to be productive, you will perish, Abadath, you will be destroyed, and those Gentiles, Wahagawim, shall be completely devastated as they fight among themselves and kill one another, Chareb, as they become desolate and uninhabited. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:12. There will be no freeloaders in forevermore. God values work. Recognizing that it is essential that we contribute to those around us and to the covenant family, those who consider themselves entitled will be no more. In the 13th statement of Yasha'yah 60, we are reminded that Yahweh is transforming the land so that it 210 appears again as Eden. God's set-apart place will become beautiful again. Among the beautification projects will be the imposition of accountability because retribution is an essential component to being just, moral and fair. It is compassionate when we value victims over those who have hurt them. Progressives, Muslims, anti-Semites, and conspirators beware. The offspring, Beni, the descendants, of those who abused and afflicted you, oppressing and mistreating you, Anath, who cause you to suffer, denied, deprived, denigrated, subjugated, and raped you, openly denying your rights, shall walk to you, Holak el-Ath, humbled, crouched over, and bowed down, Shakak, in submission, grieved and downcast, and they will explain themselves, Wachoah, they will announce their intent, at the soles of your feet, Al-Kaf Regalath, along with all who despised and spurned you. Treating you with contempt, Shurl Natsath, everyone who rejected and reviled you, disrespecting you. Then they will call that which is associated with you, Wakara Lata, the city and inhabitants, ear, place and population, of Yahweh, the proper pronunciation of Yahovah, our Eloah, God has directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his Hayeh, existence and our Shalom, restoration, of Zion, the signs posted along the way, Zion, by the set-apart one of Yisrael, Kadosh Yisrael. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:14. It is as it should be, as it must be. It is fitting and proper for the seed of the Nazis, Roman Catholics, Muslims, conspiratorialists, anti-Semites, and progressives, even communists to receive what their forefathers had sought to inflict because they have come from the same seed. But on 211 this day, they will arrive to praise those they have despised. They will commend the people they have condemned. I do not know how long Yahweh will allow non-covenant members to serve Israel before they are banished. It may be on this day, for the time between the fulfillment of Kippurim and Sukkah, or for as long as their natural lives. I, for one, never want to see or hear from them again, so the shorter the better. Let's get on with life in Eden. You will know, Yada, you will be aware and understand, that I, Yahweh, Kyne Yahweh, am your Savior, Moshiach, the one who rescued and delivered you, and your Redeemer, Wagalath, the Mighty One, Abir, the strength of Jacob, a synonym for Yisrael. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:16. This has all been leading up to Yahweh's return and the commencement of Sukkah. Then, the suns, Hashemesh, light, or illumination, will no longer be a means of persistent renewal, Lohaya, Ode, will not exist as a restoring witness, for you, La Athod, by day, La Yomam, or as a measure of time, nor the moon, Ha Uraik, the monthly calendar, a source of information on when to respond, while La Noga, make known or enlighten, by night, Lail. From one Kesser, to provide light, Lo or, for you, La. Instead, Yahowah, as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence, will be for you, higher La'ath, an everlasting light, or Olam. And your God, Wa Elohaimath, your glorious adornment, La Tiferethath, your radiance and renown. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:19. This does not mean that the sun and the moon are going away, but instead, they will no longer serve as a measure of time or provide a restoring witness. In eternity, 212 and as spiritual beings, we will radiate Yahweh's light. We will shed our ignorance, and no longer be slaves to time. Then your family, Wa'amath, and so your people, your remains feminine singular, will be entirely right, Shirl Zadik, they will all be correct, validated, and vindicated. They will be heirs to the land, Hem Yarash Eres, they will inherit and possess the earth, forevermore, La Olam, for all eternity. This observant sprout and shoot, indeed this sucker from the original rootstock preserving the life of the tree, Netzer, this new growth emerging from an old stump which rises to the next generation, this extension grafted into the main branch which can be used as an implement to spare lives by revealing that which was not readily known, from Nazar, to be observant, watchful, and trustworthy, to guard, protect, and preserve, is the one which Yahowah planted, Ha-Mata Yahowah, the one whose base and roots Yahowah established, from one Kesser, the work and accomplishment of his hands, Maaseh Yothu, the labors, acts, and products of his influence, works is plural in one Kesser, to endow a higher status through clarifying explanations, La Pa, to honor and show appreciation for this marvelous outcome, as the fruit of the harvest is beautifully adorned. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:21. That which is determined and readily known, Ha-Katan, the simple and insignificant, even the briefest moment in time, will be, higher, magnified 1,000-fold, La Ha-Alaf, will become abundantly productive, and the child with older siblings, Wa-Ha-Tsa'ir, the more recent addition to the existing family and their servant, will be an accomplished and effective Gentile, Gau-Yatsum, will be an empowered, strong, and potent individual, of a different ethnicity. 213 Eni, Yahowah, an accurate presentation of the name of Eloah, God as guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his higher existence, am prepared to accomplish this quickly, Chogshai, I am ready to hasten this result, at the proper time, Bar-Ethai, during the right moment on the calendar. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 60:22. It appears that Yasha'yah is elevating the chota from a sucker growing out of the rootstock of Dowd who would need everything Yahowah could provide just to be functional, to a netzer, a sprout which will play a role preserving the tree that will embody a restored Yisrael. His clarifying explanations would lead to the harvest of God's people. The transition from prophet to witness would take 2,700 years from our perspective looking back in time, and Yahowah will accomplish his intent in an instant at the proper time. As we pursue Yahowah's words from now and into eternity, we find ourselves confronting a prophecy that Twistians have enveloped their Jesus. The story is that, after having been tempted by Satan, the Christian God walked into a synagogue, then rather than citing something from the Torah pertaining to Pesach, he opened a scroll to the book religious Jews have long ignored. And while he is alleged to have cited the following prophecy, it clearly pertains to our time, not the 1st century CE. That is a problem because the Christian Jesus claimed that these prophecies were being fulfilled as he was reading them, and that simply is not true. While I can assure you that these words were not spoken by the mythical misnomer Jesus, it is highly improbable that they were intended to be in Yasha'yah's 214 voice. That would leave us with the possibility that they would be conveyed by Moses or Dowd. And if not them, in this context, these are the words of the last Zarowa, the Ruach, Spirit, Ruach, of Yahowah, written as directed by his Torah, teaching, from one Kesser because the Mount has Adonai, is upon me, Al-Eni. For this reason, Yan, and for this purpose and insomuch as, Yahowah, has anointed, Mashach, he has designated, appointed, and devoted by setting apart at this moment in time, Kal perfect, that which is associated with me, Etheni, in accompaniment with me, for the purpose of bringing this proclamation, La Basar, this positive and uplifting message, Peel infinitive, the anointed is becoming the embodiment of the message in a descriptive and demonstrative way as a verbal noun. To the unpretentious and sincere and those ready to respond, or those who have been oppressed and are now responsive, eager to move forward by replying to these answers, from Anna, to respond to a witness and reply to the answer. He has sent me, Shalach, he has dispatched me at this time, Kal perfect, to encourage Shabash, to enliven, speaking the words which hearten by dressing the wounds, to bandage and gird, Cal infinitive, those whose judgment has suffered, La Shabalab, whose desires have been shattered and whose thinking has been thwarted, to provide an invitation, Kara, to proclaim a summons, reading and reciting an announcement to be called out, Cal infinitive, to be liberated, Daror, to be free. Released from all obligations and captivity, to be emancipated and free to move about without constraint, to those who are being controlled, La Shibar, who are being led away and oppressed, whose freedoms have been confiscated such that they are captive, Cal passive participle, and to those who are obligated and bound 215 Wala Asar, to those who have sworn an oath of allegiance and who have joined in, a means of release, Pakak Kawach, an opening. A means to extricate oneself from being controlled, Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:1. The Ruach, Spirit of Yahowah was explicitly offered to the Chota. Further, the Naka is dedicated to this mission. When we read of someone being anointed, especially in the context of Yahowah's Spirit, we immediately think of Dowd, David as he was anointed 3,000 years ago. Also, while being Mashach, anointed is a prerequisite of being the Mashiach, Messiah, most who are designated by Yahowah in this manner fall well short of the title. Cyrus is a glaring example. Moreover, there are those who are appointed by Yahowah to accomplish something he wants to be done who have never seen a drop of anointing oil. Basar, uplifting news is the point of initial conflict between the Gnostic nature of Paul's letters and Yahowah's positive message. It also highlights the difference between the Jewish religion and the relationship Yahowah intended. Typically rendered as flesh, the physical world is all there is to Judaism. It is a works-based dogma without the benefit of the spirit or afterlife. And Paul wrote that his message was superior to God's because the Torah was of the flesh while his gospel was spiritual, or so Twistians are led to believe. An or is based upon one of the Torah's most significant verbs, anna, to respond, reply, and answer. To render it humble, as is the case with most English Bible translations, is to miss the point. This messenger's basar, news is uplifting for those an or, willing to respond. Modern readers often struggle with lab, heart, believing somehow that it is used to express feelings. That may be true today, but when this was written, the lab 216 was the center of judgment, revealing the capacity of a person to make good decisions, such that their inclinations and ambitions would be reasonable and rational. This, therefore, is not addressing the broken-hearted but, instead, those whose judgment has suffered because their desires have been shattered and thinking has been thwarted. This witness would be anointed to free God's people from religion, politics, and conspiracy. Moses was the great liberator, the one who drew his people away from religious and political oppression in Miriam, but these are not the words of the aging shepherd. Dowd was anointed and he defended Israel, but he was not a liberator. And since Jesus never existed, it would be prudent to disqualify him simply for being a myth. Moreover, even in the fairy tales regarding Jesus, his people did not listen to him, and they did not respond appropriately either. Further, Israel would be subjugated, not freed, as a result of what was written about Jesus Christ. I'm inclined to see Yasha'yah speaking these words. Those who consider what he has revealed, and who respond to what he has foretold, will be freed of all human control mechanisms. Moreover, he has been predicting Yahowah's return while seeking recompense against those who have abused God's people. This is even written in Yasha'yah's style, wherein related thoughts are tied together in a complex sentence structure. That said, prophets like Yasha'yah, Isaiah are inspired to report what they have witnessed in our future. They are seldom participants in the events they are prophetically depicting. And if that is the case, the prophet is describing the Chota. To issue an invitation, la kara, to read and recite a summons to be called out and meet, Cal infinitive, to the year, Shana, the cycle of the seasons, of Yahowah's 217, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher, existence, approval and acceptance, ratzon, favor and reward, will and desire, and the day, Yam, of the vengeance and retribution, Nakam, revenge and repayment, recompense and punishment, of our God, La Elohim Anaknu, to comfort and console, Nacham. To show sympathy and provide solace, consolation, and relief, showing compassion to all who grieve and mourn, Shirl Abel, who have cried, lamenting a great calamity, Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:2. There is only 1 year and just 1 day within that year when Yahowah's favor and his retribution coalesce. This is Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations in the Yaubel year of 6000 year, October 2nd and 3rd in 2033. As we will discover in Yasha'yah, Zechariah, and Malachi, Yahowah wants nothing more than to reconcile his relationship with Israel and Yahudah. But on this day when many are approved, far more will be condemned for having opposed God's family. I am delighted to see Yasha'yah explain the reason for recompense. It is to console and comfort those who were victimized. To seek retribution is not only to be fair, just, and moral, it is compassionate, and it provides solace for the grieving. To provide, lasim, to put in place and appoint, for those who grieve and mourn, able, who have cried, lamenting a great calamity, for Zion, for the signs posted along the way, to give to them, la Nathan lahem, to bestow and allow for them, an honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, pa, a clearly explained reason to boast over one's status, instead of, taketh in place of, ashes as if insignificant, effort, humiliation, a sense of worthlessness, distress, and sorrow, olive oil. Sheman, resulting in gladness, sason, jubilation and happiness, 218 instead of, taketh, in place of, mourning over the dead, evil, garments of adoration, mate tehillah, laudable clothing, instead of, taketh, in place of, a dark and obscure, weakening, ka, a feeble and dim, a faint and dull, restraining and faltering, spirit, ruach. Then, wa, they may be invited and called out as, kara lahem, they may be proclaimed and summoned, leaders of the flock who represent the doorway, el, the sheep, ram, and rulers, the doorposts and pivot point, the vigor and robustness, even the strength, pilaster, and mighty tree, of being right and vindicated, tzedek, of being correct and acquitted, affirmed and validated, honest and just, upright, accurate, and fair, the basis of which was established by, matter, being placed and planted in the garden by, Yahowah. The pronunciation of Yahowah, to approach the honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, la pa, concerning the clearly explained reason to boast over one's status. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:3. We should all grieve for Zion. The marvelous signs posted along the way between Dowd's home and Yahowah's have been torn down and replaced with churches and mosques. For the past 2,000 years, Jews have been treated as if they were dirt, insignificant and worthless, but that is about to change. They will soon be adorned in loving garments and laudable clothing, akin to a garment of light. For far too long, the religious have supported the dark and obscure, weakening and faltering, spirit of Satan. It is long past time that Israel upgraded to the Ruach, Kodesh. Those who do will become leaders of the flock, revealing the doorway to life. They are right, and thus vindicated. This is the way established by Yahowah. 219. Considering the length and implications of this statement, let's review it before we assess the speaker. The Spirit, Ruach, of Yahowah, is upon me, aleni. For this reason, Yahowah, has anointed and appointed, Mashach, that which is associated with me, etheni, for the purpose of bringing this proclamation and uplifting message, la basar, to the unpretentious and sincere who are ready to respond, anor. He has sent me, shalach, to encourage and enliven, shabash, those whose judgment has suffered because their desires have been shattered and thinking has been impaired, la shabalab, to provide an invitation, kara, to be liberated, released from all obligations and emancipated, daror, on behalf of those who are being controlled, la shibar, and to those who are obligated and bound, having sworn an oath of allegiance or who have joined in, wala esar, providing an opening and a means to extricate oneself from being controlled, pakak kawich, Yasha'yah 61:1, to issue an invitation, la kara, to the year, shana, of Yahowah, approval and acceptance, favor and reward, ratzon, and summons to the day, yawm, of the vengeance and retribution, nakam, of our God, la Elohim anaknu, to comfort and console, nachum, all who grieve, shur able, Yasha'yah 61:2, to provide, lasim, for those who mourn, able, for Zion, to give to them, la Nathan lahem, an honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, pa, instead of, taketh. Ashes as if insignificant, ephah, olive oil, sheman, resulting in gladness, sason, in place of, taketh, mourning over the dead, evil, garments of adoration and laudable clothing, mate tehillah, instead of, taketh, a dark and obscure, weakening and faltering, ka, spirit, ruach. 220. Then, they may be invited and proclaimed, kara lahem, leaders of the flock who reveal the doorway, el, to being right and vindicated, tzedek, the basis of which was established by, matter, Yahowah, to approach the honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, la pa. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:3. Since it is germane to our discussion to affirm the identity of this speaker, I would like to prove that Luke, who was Paul's publicist, had an agenda other than God's in writing his Gospel and the book of Acts. Very little of what he claimed actually occurred. For example, the following is a flight of fantasy. So he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and stood up to read. Luke 4:16, and he was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, Luke 4:17. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, he has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. Luke 4:18, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. Luke 4:19. Then he closed the book, and gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all who were in the synagogue were fixed on him. Luke 4:20. And he began to say to them, Today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. Luke 4:21, so all bore witness to him, and marveled at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. Luke 4:22 New King James. Luke, who was neither inspired nor an eyewitness, nor even very bright, advanced his myth by alleging that the Christian God would come to Nazareth, where he had been 221 brought up, and as was his custom, go into a synagogue on the Sabbath day. The town of Nazareth did not exist in the 1st century CE, so childhood Jesus could not have grown up there. Knowing that Yahowah is opposed to the religious, his representative would never have stepped foot in a synagogue. In fact, there is no mention of synagogues in the Torah because it isn't even a Hebrew word and God does not sanction such a place. It is a Greek compound of son, together and agin, bring and describes the blending together of Greek and Jewish cultures. The single least respected book among religious Jews is Yasha'yah because it is so condemning of their religion. So even if Isaiah was an accurate transliteration of the prophet's name, that would have been the last scroll, not the first, the religious would have handed to anyone. The prophecy Yasha'yah recorded does not read the Lord or he but instead Yahowah both times. There is no Hebrew word for preach or gospel and thus the misnomer, Jesus, could not have read either. There was no reference to the poor but, instead, the responsive. Shabat means to encourage and enliven not to heal. And we have already addressed the myth of the brokenhearted. Kara is more adroitly translated as to provide an invitation or to recite a summons to meet than proclaim. Liberty is an accurate, albeit abbreviated, rendering of Dabarym, just as captives is a permissible but inadequate translation of La Shabat. There is no reference to the recovery of sight to the blind. It was added without any textual basis. Clearly ad-libbing, Luke omitted the prophet's second inclusion of Kara, to issue an invitation. Then instead of reading that those who were bound by their oaths of allegiance are being given the means to extricate 222 themselves from being controlled, Luke suggested, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. Once again, one of the Torah's most revealing verbs, kara, was dismissed with to proclaim, as if this had nothing to do with the Mikra of Kippurim. And yet, all of these deliberate misrepresentations pale in comparison to Luke's final gaffe, the acceptable year of the Lord. He had his man God read the first part but not the second part of the most important pronouncement. He obviously knew that he would have discredited his claim that this prophecy was fulfilled by his God if he had cited the end of the sentence. So, Luke's Jesus omitted Yahowah's name a third time and the day, YYV1C4, of the vengeance and retribution, Nakam, of our God, La Elohim Anaku, demonstrating that Luke's intent was to deceive. By not having him complete the sentence, the Christian God also failed to explain the reason why the day of Yahowah's return would include retribution. To comfort and console, Nachum, all who grieve, Shirl able, to provide, La Sim, for those who mourn, able, for Zion, to give to them, La Nathan Lahem, an honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, Pa, instead of, Taketh, ashes as if insignificant, Ephah, olive oil, Sheman, resulting in gladness, Sasson, in place of, Taketh, mourning over the dead, Ebel, garments of adoration and laudable clothing, Mate Tehillah, instead of, Taketh, a dark and obscure, weakening and faltering, Ka. Spirit, Ruach. The dark and faltering spirit of Satan inspired Luke to misquote, misconstrue and misappropriate this prophecy. It is so obviously perverted, it's a wonder 2.5 billion people prioritize Satan's little ditty over the source from which it was twisted and torn. 223 There were no books presenting the prophets in this day, only scrolls. Scripture is a religious term with no Hebrew equivalent. It is from the Latin, and thus Roman, scriptura, writings. This prophecy was not fulfilled in the 1st century, and is only now coming to fruition as we approach Yom Kippurim in year 6000 year. Had he spoken these words, those who bore witness would have mocked him, as we are doing with Luke. Even gracious is a Christian concept based upon the Roman goddesses known as the Graces. Since Luke was in fact literate, we can be certain that his intent was to deceive. But with the truth readily available for comparison and his perversions so grievous, why are there any Christians? Indeed, logic is lost on the religious. Returning to reality, of the two mighty Zarowa, Moses and Dowd, only the Messiah could cite something along these lines, doing so upon his return. But even then, It isn't in his voice, does not reflect his style, and there is no record of him attesting to it in his Mizmor or Marshal. Moreover, when a prophecy applies to Dowd, his name is included. As much as I would like to see Yasha'yah making this marvelous declaration himself, in that I respect him and empathize with him, he is performing in the role of a prophet. Therefore, he is presenting the testimony of another, someone who he has previously introduced by affirming that Yahweh's Spirit is upon him. He has identified his chota as being appointed to proclaim this message to those who are ready to hear it and respond. And he knows that for it to resonate, God's people must be willing to think for themselves and crawl out from under the religious influences which have impaired their progress. Further, he is aware that Yahweh is committed to the liberation of his people from those seeking to control them. The chota also shares Yahweh's desire to 224 reconcile his relationship with Israel. And admittedly, he has a propensity for run-on sentences, for making copious connections and explanations with a deep-seated desire to explain what is occurring within the context of the Mikra and God's timeline, and is committed to advancing the mission laid out within the prophecy, including achieving retribution to console the victims. He shares the prophet's fascination with these words along with a steadfast devotion to using Yahweh's name. As for affirming the identity of the chota, the timing and substance of this message and mission limit the potential candidates considerably. While I am committed to going where God's words lead, I remain reluctant in this case. But my preferences must subside in favor of sharing the truth. All that really matters is that Yahweh is calling his people, Israel and Yehuda, out of political, religious, and geographic Babylon so that he can reconcile their relationship. And now, as I write these words, only 10 years remain, even less for those of you reading them who have not yet responded. The treasures of Yerushalayim have been razed many times, from the Babylonians to the Romans and most recently by the Muslims. But all of that ugliness, the mosques and the churches, even the synagogues and temples, will now be razed to make way for what actually belongs in the promised land. Appreciating the value of work, I am delighted to see Yahweh allowing his people to contribute to reconstructing and re-establishing Israel. That way it will mean more to all of us than if it was just given to us. Most important of all, should you have been troubled by my repudiation of the Christian New Testament when I claimed that the preceding prophecy pertained to 2033 and not 33, and thus could not have been quoted by the Christian God, what follows is proof. This has not occurred 225 but will occur immediately after Yahweh's return. In fact, the opposite transpired after the Lamb's sacrifice. It is yet another example as to why Yahweh's testimony ought never be extricated from the context which ascribes its meaning. Then they will rebuild, Wabanah, they will re-establish, the feminine of Ben, son, that which was destroyed long ago, Shabar Olam, the ancient ruins which were made desolate rubble and depopulated will be forevermore. That which was formerly ravaged, Shamam Rishon, the foremost of what was previously laid waste and ruined in stupefying fashion by those who were appalling, shall rise and be re-established, Kum, will arise, be validated, and affirmed. They will repair and restore, Shadash, they will renew and thereby reaffirm their relationship with, Korib's cities, Korib, the inhabitants who are aware of where the Torah was revealed and who are Torah observant, which were devastated, Shamam, which were ravaged in a stunning, appalling, and stupefying fashion, many generations ago, Dowd. They will rise again, Kum Hem, they will absolutely be reaffirmed and validated, established and standing, from one Kesser. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:4. Ever the wordsmith, Yasha'yah begins his quest for us to understand with Banah, rebuild, knowing that it is based upon the word for child. Yah is now about the business of raising his covenant family. Therefore, this proclamation is more about the restoration of God's people than it is about reconstruction. Even Shabat is a derivative of Korib and, thus, addresses those who have been restored by the words delivered in this place. Olam was rendered as long ago, but now that we have reached the point where we have been liberated in the 226th fourth dimension, be aware that it is most comfortably translated as forevermore. Similarly, while Rishon can be rendered as formerly, it is more accurately conveyed as first and foremost, so it is addressing the things which matter most. Those who recognize this Kum, rise up, established and validated, standing before Yah. Shadash is inseparable from the Mikra, in that it reveals when we are invited to celebrate Chag Matzah, Chag Shabuah, and Chag Sukkah with the covenant family. Shadash describes the renewing light on the moon's surface designating the beginning of a month, particularly the 1st and the 7th, when the countdown to these times of renewal and restoration begins. To my mind, Yasha'yah intended for us to transliterate Korib rather than translate it. And then his expectation was that we would associate the place where the Torah was revealed with the benefits of being Torah observant. It has, after all, been 170 generations since the Torah was initially written and 150 since it was last observed by all Israel. And, according to Yasha'yah's contemporary, Yirmiyah, Jeremiah, the covenant's restoration and renewal is predicated upon Yahowah placing his Torah, guidance inside of his children. Even Shammam is telling, revealing that the Torah was ravaged in a stunning, appalling, and stupefying fashion. He is speaking prophetically of the consequence of Judaism and Christianity. Those who are from distant places and may not be native, Dabarym, those who have been scattered and who may be of diverse ethnicities, even those previously estranged and alienated, will be present, remaining and enduring, Amod, taking their stand by presenting themselves and becoming established, repaired and raised, and they will shepherd, Wara, they will lead, protect, watch over, and nourish, Kal perfect active, your flocks 227 Son Atom, your sheep. You has returned to masculine plural and thus is addressing Yisrael. And also, Wa, the children, Beni, the offspring and descendants, of an observant and discerning foreigner from a different ethnicity and geographic location who will come to understand, Naka, of someone from a different place and culture, speaking a different language, who, having paid attention will comprehend and respond, masculine singular, from Naka, by being attentive and astute will become acquainted, recognize, and acknowledge something which deserves our attention and consideration even if previously underappreciated and often misunderstood, will be your husbandman, Ikar Atom, among those working in your fields as ploughmen and farmers, always digging deeper, and your vineyard dressers, Wakoram Atom, as they tend to your vineyards. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:5. Since there is one God and one Torah for all, and only one covenant, we should rightly expect the promised land to be shared with those who have been scattered and alienated, even those of different ethnicities. Moreover, they are here to stay. It is interesting that in Hebrew, the language of revelation, the most respected occupation, Ra, to be a shepherd, is always a verb and never a noun. And it is telling that, having shirked their responsibilities as shepherds, Yahowah is now deploying others to tend to his sheep. Yasha'yah's stirring prophecy has now been set between two presentations of the Naka, observant foreigner. And soon enough, we will see it placed between an early and later mention of the Zarowa. What is happening here is special, deeply rewarding and encouraging. Those who have found their way into the covenant through these many translations and resulting 228 considerations are busy doing what we have been trained by Yah to accomplish. We are tending our Father's sheep, serving in his garden, and dressing his vines. We are being used productively by Yahowah for the benefit of his family. However, with this summary reference to the Naka, we are reminded that, in Yasha'yah 60:10, something was said which is equally heartwarming. And so, Wa, the offspring, Beni, of the Naka, observant foreigner, Naka, will re-establish, restore, and rebuild, Banah, the means of separation and protection, and particularly your elevated thoroughfare to make the proper connections, Chama'ath, while those who are thoughtful and responsive among them, Malakhem, shall render assistance and serve you, being attentive and helpful while making a contribution, Shiratath. We will do these things so that the Loi, and perhaps now all Israel, can return to the mission for which they were called. And you will be invited to be called out and to read and recite the proclamations pertaining to the welcoming meetings as, Wa Atom Kara, you will be summoned, Nephil imperfect, priests, Koheni, as ministers and royal advisors, of Yahowah, Yahowah, the proper pronunciation of Yahowah, our Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his Hayah, existence and our Shalom, restoration, as those who serve by rendering assistance, Shirat, who contribute by providing a service, for our God. Elohim Anakyu. The Gentiles, Gawim, those from different places and races, will speak of you, Amala Atom, as having character, virtue, and ability, Shael, as being strong and capable, vigorous and worthy, valiant and effective. 229 While you dine, Akal, you will feast, you will boast about, Amar, you will express your pride in, their significance and glorious presence, Wabakabautem, in their manifestation of power, tremendous reward, and honorable standing. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:6. Having Gawim serving in Yahowah's garden is significant and will be glorious. It is a reason to be proud of what we have accomplished together. This said, I realize that the more customary way to render this passage is to suggest that the way these priests will be serving God is that, after lapping up their praise, the Jews will be devouring the wealth of the nations. Rather than advancing the need for retribution, that sounds petty. The covenant is about living together in harmony, without conflict, and being mutually supportive and joyous. In keeping with my appraisal, Israelites are being given a double portion of what is being viewed as a glorious reward and honorable standing among the Gawim. Instead of, Takath, you being shamed and humiliated, Bosheth Atom, being confused and abused, there will be a double portion, Mishneh, there will be twice as much. And instead of being dishonored and disavowed, Wakalima, being insulted and humiliated, they will rejoice, Ranan, they will sing for joy, over their share, Shelikhem, over their apportionment, reward, allocation, and lot. Therefore, Laken, so as a result, in their land, Bar Erez Hem, you will inherit, Yarash, they will receive as heirs, 1 Kesser, a second portion, Mishneh, twice the amount, existing in an eternally joyous state, Shimka Olam Hayala Atom, you will be eternally delighted and happy ever after, 1 Kesser. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:7. 230. This is because, Kyne, Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence, love, Ahab, strongly prefer, that which is just, rational and decisive, Mishpat, exercising good judgment while being thoughtful and fair, resolving disputes, and I hate, Wasain, I despise, abhor, and detest, deception and plunder, Gazel, stealing, seizing the property of others, in that it is wrong, displays malice, and is dishonest, Bar Allah, it is unjust, deviant, and perverse. Therefore, I will provide, Nathan, I will bestow and give, you with your reward and compensation, Atom Paula, you with your wages, what you have earned and deserve for what you have accomplished, your proper remuneration and pay, 1 Kesser, honestly and fairly, Bar Emith, reliably, dependably, and with integrity. I will establish, Karat, I will cut, making through the act of separation, an everlasting, Olam, an eternal, covenant, Warith, family-oriented relationship agreement, with you, La Atom, you is masculine plural and thus addresses Yisrael, from 1 Kesser. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:8. Yahowah is the foremost patron of joy and justice. Often, they go hand in hand. This is why the day of reconciliations is also a time of recompense. It is much better for God to be fair rather than forgiving, decisive rather than accommodating, even just instead of justifying. So long as he reveals his criteria, then it is up to us. If we meet it, we are good, if not, we have only ourselves to blame. But this way, we always know where we stand because the outcome is predetermined. Based upon this, there are a lot of people and institutions Yahowah hates, including the Roman Catholic 231 Church, Muslims, and Communists, and let's not forget the covetous rabbis who extort the people's inheritance. They have all shamed and robbed Israel. For doing so, there will be hell to pay. Yah has described our reward, his compensation to us and our due. It is nothing more or less than his covenant, eternal adoption into his family. It is what he is offering and what we should be seeking. There is no greater reward, nothing more valuable. This next statement is typical of Yasha'yah. He has written it so that those he is addressing will see themselves in his words while those who are not invested in this process will pass them by. Featured herein are 2 references to Zerah, the actionable root of Zarowa, speaking of sowing the seeds which are productive, generating new life. There is also a Ra, witness, a community of Goim, Gentiles who are incorporated into the Am family. There is a Yada and a Naka, both rendered in their actionable verbal forms. And it concludes by acknowledging that all of this has Yahowah's explicit barak, blessing. The seeds you have sown and your resulting offspring, Zarowa, that which you, as the Zarowa, have planted and produced, 1 Kesser, will be known, Yada, will be revealed and recognized, respected and appreciated, among the Gentiles, Bar Goim, with those of different ethnicities, in addition to, what you have produced with your descendants, Tzitzaota, that which you have planted and produced, from Yatsar, proceeded to bring forth and caused to come out, 1 Kesser, within, Talk, in the midst of, the family, Ha'am, the people. Everyone who witnesses them, Chol Rahem, all who observe them, will recognize and acknowledge them, Nakahem, will realize who made this known to them, 232 perhaps perceiving and accepting the role of the Naka, observant foreigner, hyphal imperfect, the Naka is being influenced by the subject, becoming like them in that everyone is continually observant and aware, because, they are the offspring of the seeds sown, Hem Zerah, they are the descendants and seed, the product of the Zarowa, which Yahowah. The pronunciation of Yahowah, has blessed, Barak, has lovingly raised, beneficially extolled, and positively greeted. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:9. In this case, there can be no attempt to rebuff the acknowledgement because the results are so marvelous. The seeds we have sown have taken root and they have grown into children of the covenant. We are being recognized within the family for who we have come to know and what we have come to understand by being observant. And this has all been with Yahowah's blessing. As an interesting aside, after surveying the Dead Sea Scrolls, I had laid a course to translate through the 8th verse of the 60th chapter and then move on to 61. Had I done so, we would have been bereft of this acknowledgement from our God. And yet, it is becoming ever more difficult to escape the likelihood that there really is a third Zarowa, a little Z who has sown a lot of seeds. As we continue to ponder whether these words were prophetic of those which would be spoken by the great Zarowa, Moses or Dowd, or perhaps by Yasha'yah, it is still premature to be definitive. And yet, we are not left with many possibilities following statements like the previous one, especially considering the subject matter and timing. While this is all scribed in the masculine singular, I think we would all agree. I will rejoice and then celebrate some more, whose, I am delighted, tremendously pleased, totally 233 confident, and in love with the relationship, infinitive imperfect, with Yahowah, Bar Yahowah. My soul, Nipesheni, my consciousness, the repository of my personality, attitudes, and aptitudes, even experiences and knowledge, the sum of my life, will shout for joy and express my appreciation, Jill, will jubilantly convey my delight, glee, and contentment, shrieking ecstatically, with my God, Bar Eleni, because, KY, he has clothed me, lavish Eni, he has dressed me, in the apparel, bidged, in the garments and cloak, of deliverance and salvation, Yesha'yah, of victory and freedom, with the robe, male, with the cloak, of accuracy and honesty, Zardaka, of being right and thus vindicated, correct and acquitted, of righteousness and justice, innocence and prosperity. He has covered me, Yath Eni, he has arrayed me, as a bridegroom, Kahar Chatan, like I was the father's daughter's husband, a son-in-law, serving and adorned as a priest, Kahan, dressed like a priest while serving as a minister, with a beautiful headdress, pair, with a glorious ornamental sash, and similar to the way a bride, Wakahar Kala, adorns herself, Ada, makes herself especially beautiful and attractive, with her jewels, Kelly High, with her jewelry and other objects, articles, and implements. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:10. This is the essence of my life as I hope it is for yours. Every breath is an opportunity to celebrate our relationship with Yahowah. More than appreciative, we are ecstatic. Personally, I have gone from being tormented by a horrible father to the best. I left a miserable marriage to share my life with the most wonderful woman in the universe, who like the prophecy suggests is Jewish. And I have a job I truly love. Nearly 22 years ago, I came to realize that the means Yahowah deployed to make his children appear 234 perfect in his eyes was to adorn us in a garment of light. This is the apparel of deliverance and salvation. But now we know that what it accomplishes for our outward appearance, it also does for what we do and say. Yahowah is ever ready to clothe his children and co-workers in the robes of Tzedakah, accuracy and honesty. In addition to God's family, the Berith, covenant represents a marriage. In this case, it appears as if Yada, the Naka, and little Zed are being adorned as both a bridegroom, God's son-in-law, and in the robes of a priest. And while we will learn that Dowd, himself, will be adorned as a priest upon his return as he sprinkles blood upon the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant during Yom Kippurim, Dowd is both Yahowah's son and he represents Yisrael, the bride. If we are going to have a royal wedding, why not in Eden with Dowd, who is the Zmak, branch officiating the love affair? Indeed, KY, just as, Ka, the land, Ha-Eres, brings forth, Yatsah, extends and delivers, bringing out, its branch, Zmak High, its source of growth, and as a garden, Wakagana, an enclosed and protected place conducive to growing, what is sown, Zarowa High, life grown from seeds, from zera, to sow and seed, to sprout and grow, Zamak, for life to emerge from the source and branch out, likewise, Ken, in the same manner, then, Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence, one Kesser, Almighty, Elohim, one Kesser, will cause what is accurate, right, and vindicating to sprout and grow, Zamak Zardaka, will be the reason the branch brings that which is correct, acquitting, validating, and honorable, fair and just, in addition to that which is loving and laudable, Watahila, and that which is positive and praiseworthy, truly excellent and redeeming, adoring and commendable, before, nedged, and pertaining 235 to, all of these Gentiles, Shirl Hargawim. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 61:11. The branch grew out of the land of Israel and in many ways, at least later in life, came to embody the people's tumultuous existence. And yet, through all of the highs and lows, Dowd became the voice of God to his people, sowing the seeds which would take root, sprout, and grow over the millennia. He is also attributed with planting the garden of God. But most of all, the lyrics of his Mizmor, songs about Yahowah were always Tzedakah, accurate, validating and vindicating. The beloved branch recognized and reported that Yah is Tehillah, laudable and loving. But Dowd's exposure to Goim, particularly the Philistines, was neither Tzedakah nor Tehillah. Therefore, this may be speaking of someone else who is now cultivating what Dowd has Zarowa, sown. Yahowah has copious reasons to be disappointed in his people, and especially angry at religious Jews, but he has not given up. A steady diet of truth can transform an open mind. For the sake of Zion, Laman Zion, for the benefit of and with regard to the signs posted along the way, I will not keep silent nor be unresponsive, Lo Chasha, I will not remain hushed nor will I hesitate and do nothing, Kal imperfect. And for the benefit of Yerushalayim, Wa Laman Yerushalayim, for the sake of the source of guidance on reconciliation, I will not rest, Lo Shakat, I will not be at peace or serene, nor will I remain inactive, until, ad, her righteousness and vindication, Tzedek high, her willingness to do the right thing, to be honest and accurate, 236 to be equitable and just, moral and correct are brought out, Yatsa, come forth, as knowledge and enlightenment, Karnoga, as light, brilliant and radiant. And her deliverance and salvation, Wa Yasha'yah high, her victory and freedom, are like a blazing torch, Karlapid bar. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:1. Yahweh has been silent since he last spoke through Malachi 2440 years ago. A lot has happened over that span of time and yet nothing has changed. Humankind continues to reject Yahweh's message and accept a religious and/or a political counterfeit in its place. But that will soon change. God is speaking to his people again. He will not rest until everyone who is willing to listen knows what is written on his signs and is aware of what occurred in his city. He wants his people to realize that the signs posted on Zion by Dowd speak honestly and accurately about their salvation. His words in this regard serve as a blazing torch of knowledge and enlightenment. With the return to the feminine variation of you, we can apply all of this to Yerushalayim. And that makes sense because the city is the source of vindication. However, why would God want to rename his city, especially when Yerushalayim already means source of guidance on reconciliation? And of course, why is the restorative name being offered to him if Yah is addressing the city? It would appear as if the Zarowa Yah has been tasked with bearing his torch and illuminating his signs is being acknowledged for having done so accurately and honestly. And in the process of becoming correct and being vindicated, all those who are thoughtful and responsive will come to value God's signs, city, and, perhaps, Zarowa. 237 people from different places and races, Wagawim, will see, Ra, will have revealed and will witness, that you are accurate and honest, readily validated and vindicating, Tzedekath, that you, feminine singular, are correct and fair, in accord with the standard, straightforward and consistent, truthful and ethical, and all of those who are thoughtful and responsive, Washol Malak, those who are receptive and carefully consider the evidence, especially those who are willing to accept counsel and lead, will see your value, Karbaudath, your, feminine singular, honorable nature and the subsequent reward which is a manifestation of power. And he will call you, Wakara Laath, he will meet with you and welcome you, summoning and inviting you, Paul Perfect, the person being addressed, which is feminine singular, is accepting this gesture without asking for it with the subject being third person masculine singular, by a renewing and restoring, Chadash, a reaffirming and re-establishing, name, Shem, which, as a benefit of the relationship, Asher, which to show the way to get the greatest joy out of life, the mouth, Pei, of Yahowah, written as directed by his Torah, teaching, will designate for him, Nakab Hu, will bestow upon him which is notable. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:2. Up to this point, just 3 individuals have been renamed by God. They are Abram who became Abraham, his wife Sarai who became Sarah, and Jacob who was renamed Yisrael. And should this be the little z, he has been afforded the titles, Yada, knows and understands, Chota, stem or sucker, Naka and Nakri, my observant foreigner, and more recently, Zarowa, arm of God. In that the Shem, name is Chadash, it may be a new name but is more likely one which addresses his desire to renew, restore, and re-establish the relationship, between Yahweh and Yisrael. 238 is likely Dad's way of saying, good job, kid. You made your papa proud. It's about time I stop calling you a sucker and give you a proper name. You will be, Wahaya, at this moment you will exist as, Kal perfect second person feminine singular, an honorable and adorning, Tifereth, an attractive and ornamental, metaphorical crown or actual compass, Atara, a garland, wreath, or diadem, in, Va, as, with, and positioned by, Yahweh's Yahowah, hand, Yod, influence and authority, and as, Wa, a royal counselor, Maluka, as a sovereign and leading advisor to consider, from Malak, to counsel and advise on behalf of the king, in the palm, Varkaf, in the hollow of the hand of your God, Elohim Ath. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:3. A Zarowa can take many forms and play different roles. Moses was a productive shepherd. Dowd was the protective ram. Both sowed the seeds of life, one through the Torah and the other with his mizmor. Most importantly, Dowd was the sacrificial lamb. and the little Zarowa appears to be a useful implement in God's hand. With divine guidance and spiritual input, the Z is being offered his dream job, serving as a royal advisor and sovereign counselor to Dowd, the King of Kings. Moreover, in the palm of God's outstretched hand, the little Z functions as a compass, providing those who use it with the way home. Now speaking to all Israel, Yahowah affirms, "You shall no longer be called, Lo Amar La'ath Od, abandoned, Azab, a rejected outcast, forsaken and relinquished, deserted or destitute, damned or estranged, and concerning your land, Wala Erezath, no longer will it be called, Lo Amar Od, uninhabitable, Shemama, ruined and wasted, depopulated and desolated, a devastated and terrifying wasteland clothed in despair, but instead, KY, you will be called, designated, 239 and welcomed as, La'ath Kara, you will be summoned and invited as, even named. Cheftsi, my delight, Chefetseni, my desire and great pleasure because I am pleased, and your land, Wala Erezath, Baller, married, Baller, in a possessive relationship. This is because, KY, Yahowah, desires you, Chafetz Ba'ath, is delighted with you, he is pleased with you and he wants you. So, your land, Wa Erezath, will be wedded, Tibale, in a state of matrimony. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:4. By way of comparison, KY, as a fine young man, Bachra, as an exceptional bridegroom, as an exemplary individual who is battle-hardened and capable, resilient and strong, marries, Yibal, comes to take and possess in matrimony, a virgin, Bethulah, a young woman without any sexual experience, from an unused root meaning to separate, your sons, Beniath, your children, Beni is masculine and Ath is feminine, shall wed themselves to you, Baal-Ath, shall marry you. Singular feminine, and thus addressing the Ruach Kodesh, and as the bridegroom, Wachatan, the father's daughter's husband, the son-in-law, rejoices and is delighted, Masos, is celebrating with a positive attitude, for the bride, Al-Kala, the one getting married, your God, Elohim-Ath, will be pleased for you, Suz-Alath, will be delighted for you, enjoying the relationship with you. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:5. To appreciate the symbolism, understand that central to the Berith, family-oriented covenant relationship is portrayed by the productive and loving union between a man and a woman, a husband and his wife, a father and a mother who conceive and raise their children in a supportive home. It is about choosing your partner, loving and supporting them, and being trustworthy and loyal. Further, Israel is metaphorically Yahowah's bride, and God covets a faithful, enduring, mutually supportive, and 240 loving relationship with his people. Also, the symbolism makes the most sense when we recognize that the Ruach Kodesh represents the feminine and maternal aspects of Yahowah's nature. Simply stated, Yahowah wants us to be engaged in a loving relationship, where we respect and cherish one another and establish our home and family. By this time, God and his people are together again, celebrating their kinship. It is the result of Kippurim, and the purpose of Sukkah, which is serving as the wedding pavilion. Upon your walls, Al-Chama'ath, along your elevated thoroughfare, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, source of guidance on reconciliation, I will summon and determine the number, Pakad, I will call, arm, muster, organize, and appoint, of the observant, Shema, those who closely examine, carefully consider, and focus intently, watchful individuals. And all day and all night, Washel ha-Yawm Washel ha-Layla, they will continuously exist, Tamid, they will be uninterrupted and constant, never inactive nor silent, Lo Chasha, never hesitating to speak out nor idle, always remembering, Hazakah, never forgetting and consistently recalling and proclaiming, that those who associate with Yahowah, Yahowah, are never silenced or inactive, Al-Dami, they continually communicate the restoring testimony and eternal witness, and never cease. They are neither still nor dumb, regarding you, La Atom. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:6. This is a reminder that Yahowah not only values those who are observant, he invites them to work with him. Further, with this affirmation, we are reminded that God appreciates what work can achieve. Given the option, he'd rather engage with an active individual. And in this regard, he is calling us to speak openly and continually, such that 241 we are always ready and willing to share his restoring witness. What follows can be interpreted in one of three related ways. Does the negation of Nathan, allow, scribed as it is in the Jussiv mood, mean that this particular messenger's free will is being usurped so that he completes the mission without distraction? Might this be the prophet expressing his desire regarding him, encouraging him to continue to battle until his last breath? Or is this God indicating that no one will be able to silence this witness or even slow his progress? Under the circumstances, each interpretation seems appropriate. And so you should not, or will not, allow him to be silent nor silenced, neither inactive nor stopped. While Nathan Demilahu, you should not give him the opportunity to choose to be incommunicative, silenced, overwhelmed, idle, or satisfied, nor even pause and rest such that he is always striving to be a more literal and effective witness, or, you will not allow anyone to impede his progress or censure his message, never allowing anyone to stop him. Kalimperfect Joseph, with Nathan being negated. Either the observant spokesman's free will is curtailed for an ongoing period of time such that there will be no pause in the work or cessation in the communication, or the prophet is affirming that God will ensure that no one silences him or interrupts him, until he prepares the enduring and restoring testimony, at Kun, while he authenticates the legitimacy, secures and sustains through a thoughtful and systematic arrangement of the evidence. Making ready, Pearl Imperfect, whereby the object, Yahushalem, becomes fully equipped to prevail as a result of the active witness, and causes through the eternal witness, Sim, until he brings about through the restoring testimony, that which is associated with Yahushalem, Eth Yahushalem, that which pertains to the source of teaching and guidance on 242 restoration, to be adored and considered praiseworthy, Tehillah, is appreciated, her reputation renowned and laudable, throughout the earth. Baha Erez. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:7. Should this be Yasha'yah's will, it would be my privilege to devote whatever effort is required to make him proud. Should this be a temporary curtailment of my free will, nothing would be lost and everything worthwhile is gained. I've got nothing better to do, nor does anyone else. There is no more rewarding or beneficial job in the universe. So, telling someone that they must do what they love most isn't limiting. Moreover, the time spent now is returned beyond measure in eternity. That said, I prefer the rendering whereby no one is allowed to interfere with our mission to call God's people home. Our job is to speak out, to be a witness, and it is Yahweh's job to see that we are effective and that his voice is heard. And based upon my experience over the past 22 years, it is apparent that Yahweh has thwarted any and all attempts to forestall our progress. That said, our witness will end when Yahushalem is adored rather than maligned. And our means to that goal will be by conveying Yahweh's eternal witness, and restoring testimony. While our efforts will mostly fall on deaf ears, for those for whom our witness is intended, they have until 2033. Indeed, his work will be advanced by way of a final Zarowa. Yada Yahowah, an accurate presentation of the name of Eloah, God as guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his higher existence, has made a promise, Shabat, has sworn an oath, vowing to affirm the truth of this statement which is based upon approaching 7 and the Shabat, by his right hand, Bar Yamin Hu, and with his empowered and fortified, Wabars Hu 243, through his resolute and unwavering, with his bold and forceful, secure and prevailing, Zarowa. Capable arm who sows the seeds and shepherds the flock, Zarowa, the prevailing and effective resolve and ability of the guide, a productive and protective ram, the defender and caretaker engaged as a shepherd among the sheep who is fruitful in accomplishing the mission, especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing the purpose of the arm of God and that of his shepherds and sacrificial lamb. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:8. The juxtaposition of the previous two statements affirms three things. First, Yahweh is going to assure that his witness is neither thwarted nor silenced, distracted or deterred until the mission is completed. Second, God is going to prepare Yahushalem for his return by deploying a Zarowa to sow the required seeds. And third, he will be an extension of Yahweh's right hand, serving as God's implement. The third Zarowa's resolve and determination, even his effectiveness, will come through Yahweh's fortification and empowerment. The world's most popular religions have both confiscated what belonged to God's people and claimed it for themselves. In Christianity it is called replacement theology. In Islam, it is simply jealousy. I will not allow your grain, what you grow or harvest, to be given, Nathaneth Doginath, I will not offer what you produce, ever again, Ode, to be consumed in a questionable way and processed, destructively, Markel, to be butchered and destroyed, from Ma, to question and Akal, to consume, by your enemies, La Oyab by those who show enmity and hatred toward you, on the condition that, Wa'im, so long as, the children, Beni, the offspring, of the observant foreigner, Naka. The little appreciated and often misunderstood non-Israelite from a distant land who closely examines and carefully considers, then recognizes 244 and acknowledges the truth, making it known through declarative statements. The discerning friend who highly regards what can be perceived and should be respected, can choose to drink, Shatar, have the option to consume, Kalimperfect Joseph, your new wine, Thyraushath, your recently harvested and sweet, freshly pressed wine, which you have labored to produce, Yaga, you have expended the energy to make, with him, Wahu. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:8. Yes, Islam and Christianity were conceived in animosity toward Yahweh's chosen people. However, the children of the Naka love Yisrael. So, God is saying that as long as they share with those who support them, He will keep those who hate them at bay. We are one with Yisrael. As covenant, we radiate God's light and adore Yahweh's name. Truthfully, this is because, those who gather together at the harvest with Him, Asaph, those who join together and are withdrawn to receive it with Him, will consume it, Akal, radiating light, Halal, extolling the virtues while expressing complete confidence, in the name of and with, Bar Shemeth, in the renown and reputation of, from one Kesser, Yahowah. And those who are assembled and obtain it, Kabatz, those who have come together and grasp it, will drink it, Shattah, will experience it, within the courts, Bar Chatzer, within the enclosure, of my set-apart sanctuary, Kodesh Eni, says your God, Amar Elohim Atom, declares your mighty one, from one Kesser. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:9. We were there, ready to convey the message during Towrah in support of Kippurim. And so now we are assembled alongside Yahweh to celebrate Sukkah in Yerushalayim. 245 This is our message to all who will listen. Let nothing stop you from choosing to actually pass through, of your own free will and with unrelenting resolve to cross over, transit and move through, Kal imperative, the gates, Bar Hashar, within the door and entranceway. Of your own free will, prepare the way, Pana Derek, before the appearance, turn around, change direction, and pay attention, face reality, then make ready the path, Peel imperative active, as a result of their choices, those paying attention and respond in case others in the family to respond similarly, for the people, Ha-am, for the family. You should be resolute in your determination to build up and cherish, Silal, raise and extol under the auspices of free will, Kal imperative active, the highway, Masala, the main road, the thoroughfare, the elevated walkway to conduct one's life. Toss away and remove, Sakal min, throw and haul away, Peel imperative, the stumbling stones, Eben Mikshal, pondering the implications of the impediments, from one Kesser. Lift up, room, it should be your desire to be influenced by and then raise, showing that you respect and value, Hyphal imperative, the Nez, banner and sign, Nez, signal conveying a vital message which is raised up on a shepherd's staff for all to see, prominently communicating the leader's desire to alert, prepare, and rally the people, from Nases, to lift up an ensign and put it on display, over the people, Alam, before the family. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:10. The door to heaven pivots open during Passover. The way is prepared by father and son during unyeasted 246 bread. And we become Yahweh's people, His family, during firstborn children. This is the highway to God. And yet, religion has cluttered the path. So, our job is to remove the stumbling blocks and toss them away. The means Yahweh has ordained for us to accomplish this is through the composition of His Nez, sign He is lifting up for the world to see. Writing the words on this Nez, banner has long been the stated mission of the Chota and Nakri, and now Zarowa. It is Yah's promise to lift it up over His people. The primary message on the Nez reads, please pay attention, Hine, look up, consider this narrative here and now. Listen to, Shama, hear what is being said by, Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in His Torah, teaching regarding His higher existence, unto the ends of the earth, El Katseh Ha-Eres. Where the women go, good men will follow, so long as they are getting their directions from the signs posted along the way. Say unto, Amar, the women in the environment surrounding, Bath, the daughters in the area around, from Banar, to build up and Ben, a child of, the signs posted along the way, Zion, behold, Hine, look now and see, your liberation and salvation, Yasha'yah, your rescue and deliverance, your victory and assistance, will come, will return, come back, and arrive at this moment in time, Kal perfect. While there are many men in our company, the most devoted servants of Yah today are women. They have become the conveyors of salvation. And in the process, they are liberated. 247 We all recognize that Yahowah, by fulfilling His mode Mikra with Dowd, paid our fare for safe passage from earth to heaven. Look up and see, Hine, please pay attention, His reward, which is His payment for safe passage, Sakah, He has paid the fare to provide His means of transportation. It is with Him, Eth, as is His recompense, Paula, the consequence of what He has accomplished through His maternal approach, both as a reward, and as a punishment, from Pol, what is done is what is made, all in conjunction with His appearance, La Panahu, to approach His presence. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:11. It is your option, reward or recompense. Both come from father and son, Yahowah and Dowd. Soon we will find ourselves welcomed into Yahweh's presence and included within His family. Therefore, they shall be invited and welcomed as, Kara Lahem, they will be summoned and met, proclaimed, called out, designated, the set-apart family, Am HaKodesh, the people who are separated, unique, special, and uncommon, those being redeemed, Gal, the delivered who were ransomed and bought back, Kal participle, by Yahweh, Yahowah. Then, Wah, you will be called, La Takara, you will be invited and summoned, announced and proclaimed, sought after, Durosh, aware and known, accounted for and looked after, and in a relationship, a city whose occupants, a population, are no longer forsaken, Lo Azab, are no longer abandoned, rejected, nor neglected. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 62:12. 248. When our mission is complete, eternity begins. We hope you will join us. With the exception of the 7th statement, what follows is in Yasha'yah's voice rather than Yahweh's. What we are about to read shows the prophet baring his soul and sharing his frustrations and exuberance over what he has witnessed as it is now reflected in his revelations beginning in the 55th chapter. This is particularly significant because Yahweh revealed a greater swath of future history through Yasha'yah than any other man, the good and bad, the really ugly and tremendously beautiful. And yet, after a lifetime of sharing Yahweh's message with his people, no one responded, not a single soul. He might as well have been addressing the Wailing Wall. The great prophet was frustrated. He was disappointed that he had been ineffective, at least when measured by the lack of favorable respondents, and he was astonished that his people had been so foolish. While Yahweh has expressed a similar reaction, and thus held the same opinion of his people, God wanted Yasha'yah to know that his prophecies would eventually play a significant role in saving Israel. So Yahweh carried Yasha'yah into the future so that he would witness the victory of his words. Watching God's plan play out, the prophet poses a question he would then answer. Rhetorically, the purpose of this technique is to focus the reader's attention on this individual, such that we will use the clues he has provided in the 11, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, and 62 chapters to identify him. And even then, the only reason 249 Yahweh wants you to know the identity of this witness is so that you would realize that he is using him, and therefore, you can trust what this designated individual has to say about God. After having deployed some 40 prophets over 1,000 years, and providing us with their written legacy, the most natural inclination is to assume that they must have revealed more than enough for us to know or God has had enough of us ignoring him. Truth be known, it is only natural that he should have given up after a couple of thousand years of us making $!+ up about him so that we could lord over one another. Nonetheless, Yahweh made a promise to reconcile his relationship with the remnant of his people and another to fulfill the remaining mode. For these to occur successfully, and in the manner he has promised, someone has to get his people's attention. And without a Yahweh, Jew willing to step up and work with the Almighty, God resolved the problem by inspiring a Chota, sucker, who grew into a Naka, observant individual, who would come to Yada, recognize what Zarowa, seeds had to be sown, take root, and then shared on the Nez, sign to awaken Yisrael. The process was initiated on Towrah, 7 days after the Islamic suicide bombings of the World Trade Center, a Tuesday, September 18, 2001. Now 22 years after the fulfillment of the 91st Psalm, we are discovering that our ongoing quest to serve God's people is being affirmed in Yasha'yah's closing commentary. Who, is this Zay, who comes, Bo, is he who arrives and then returns at this moment in time, Kal participle perfect absolute active third person masculine singular, out of Edom, Nin Edom, from those influenced by the bloody red nature of Rome and the Roman Catholic Church, and thus the Western world, and 250 from one who outed Islam, in reddish, chameuse, crimson, brilliant and vibrant red, from that which was yeasted and ruthless, cruel and oppressive, garments, bidged, apparel, from the sheepfold, Batsra. From a fortified and protected place. He is the one, Zay, who is shown great favoritism and is respected, Hadar, who is honored on high and treated with distinction. Therefore, he is suitably adorned and arrayed, Bar Lebush, with his clothing, raiment, vestments, and apparel, striding purposely, Tsar, walking forthrightly with a sense of intensity and urgency, attentively pursuing the goal, in the abundance, Rob, in the upper range and extent, of his influence and authority, Coach Hugh, his power and might, his potential and ability, his substance and means. I am sharing this message, any Dabar, I am communicating, verbalizing and announcing this matter with these words, accurately, Zardaka, correctly and verifiably, honestly and forthrightly, to liberate and save, La Yasha, to rescue and deliver, freeing, many, Rab, numerous, a great many. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:1. I suspect that Yasha'yah used Bo, meaning comes, arrives, and returns because, like Dowd, this individual will produce a written record of his insights during his lifetime and then he will return as one of the two witnesses. And at this point, Yasha'yah is addressing the second phase of his life. By saying that the witness is coming out of Edom, Yasha'yah is designating him as a non-Israelite, affirming the Naka, observant foreigner designation. Further, as we will discover in observations when we analyze the first 20 chapters of Yasha'yah, Isaiah, prophetically Edom speaks of those things which were influenced by the legacy of Rome, which would include Roman Catholicism, Christianity, Europe, and America. 251 He does not represent any of these things, but, instead, like Moses and Miriam, he has come out of them. And that is important because, without the exposure to Christianity, Western politics, and Islam, recognizing that Esau was hated for his affinity with Ishmael, the forefather of the religion, he could not have completed the mission. When in a swamp of nasty notions, the truth is corrupted until the swamp is drained. Since we began our journey through the latter chapters of Yasha'yah, I have been grasping at straws, hoping to find a way to turn all of this attention away from what we are doing, since it is so much more comfortable being anonymous. The easiest way of accomplishing that would have been to associate these prophecies with Dowd. But since the Messiah often fought against Edom, and because he is a Yahud, by beginning here, Yasha'yah is eliminating Dowd from consideration. And with him out of this picture, we are left with the realization that there is a final Zarowa, someone who is emerging as a latter-day witness. Also, while the progenitor of Edom, Esau, whom God hated, was described as a ruddy red color at birth, the crimson stains on this man's garments will have come from what he was asked to achieve. It would not be as a result of blood relations or of shedding blood as Dowd had done but, instead, treading in a winepress. Up to this point in the prophecy, the realization that the man tasked with preparing Israel for reconciliation will do so by destroying the religious monsters the Jewish people have become, has no doubt been cathartic for those even loosely entangled in the prevailing culture. And yet, from the onset of Yasha'yah's final revelation, one scribed within the book the Hasidic disdain, and the only one found completely intact among the scrolls preserved by the Essenes, we have learned that this Naka, observant 252 foreigner will bring Israel back to the Torah of Moses by leading the willing away from the Babylonian Talmud. And while that has been shocking to the senses, it now pales in comparison to the realization that the third Zarowa is a descendant of Esau, Jacob's disenfranchised brother. It is the bitter pill the rebellious nation needs to swallow along with their pride. And it is made all the less palatable by design, when we are told that this descendant of Esau who exposes the ugly soul of Judaism on behalf of Yahweh, is harder, shown great favoritism, and is respected, honored on high and treated with distinction. What the rabbis have claimed for themselves, the Gentile has been afforded by God. The very chota, sucker who has belittled religious dress-up, will be bar lebush, suitably adorned and arrayed by Yahowah through his Ruach Kodesh. In the midst of a land stumbling over their own trivializing halakha, Yahowah's witness will be tsar, striding purposely, walking forthrightly with a sense of intensity and urgency, attentively pursuing the goal of restoring the relationship the Jewish religion has severed. Among a people having bequeathed their souls to the rabbis, to those who have claimed to be great and who now wallow in their ill-gotten gain, Yada will have been given what they have never had, Rob Coach, a great abundance of God's influence and authority. And if that were not enough to discredit the pretentious, the individual Yasha'yah is encouraging his people to acknowledge will have come from the sheepfold, which is where Yahowah found Dowd. With this declaration, Almighty God is letting Israel know that he has had enough of their shenanigans. He will humble the pretentious by affording someone they will naturally despise with what they have craved. It is appropriate, and it is brilliant. 253 As a result, we are looking for someone with a European and Christian heritage, who, nonetheless, has come from the same place in terms of his approach to God and his people as did David. And that place is found within Dowd's Mizmor. Moreover, this individual will boldly stride over the religious using words which are imbued with divine authority. This is so atypical for a foreigner to garner Yahowah's respect, it is hard for us to even process, as was surely the case for Yasha'yah. And so, the prophet strove to be resolutely accurate by dispensing with all potentially equivocating commentary. This witness will be suitably adorned and arrayed to complete God's mission, striding with a sense of urgency as time descends from man's hourglass. With so few days remaining, and with the challenge being so great, this man will be operating with an abundance of God's power and authority. And this means that his testimony is accurate and inspiring. It also means that the prophet is describing the chota, stem who was the lone individual said to have been enlightened, empowered, and emboldened by the 7 Ruach of Yahowah. Affirming how distinct this is from everything else, Yasha'yah says something which only appears twice in all of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. First, after presenting a long list of promises regarding Dowd, Yahowah concludes by saying that we can call him a liar if it isn't all true. And now we read Yasha'yah saying that he is telling us the truth, sharing this message accurately to liberate and save many. Therefore, we can surmise a number of things. First, this is so out of the norm, even for God, that the prophet is concerned that we won't take him seriously. Second, this revelation shades the way our generation will perceive Isaiah's viability and credibility. Third, the messenger and 254 message Yasha'yah is acknowledging, even endorsing, will liberate and save many. In other words, this is important to Yasha'yah, Yahweh, and Yisrael. And therefore, since there is no other candidate for Yada and the Nez, the Chota, Naka, or Zarowa in our presence, any attempt to disavow Yahweh's approach to his people is disrespectful of God's intent and disruptive to his purpose. Doing so will be measured in lost lives. As for me, I am thankful that I have just become aware of the stated intent of these prophecies. Had I been asked to translate and expound upon them 10, 15, or 20 years ago, I would not have been ready for what they foretell. A lot has transpired between Towrah in 2001 and our celebration of it this day in 2023. And central to the growth which has led to the requisite understanding is the identity of the Zarowa, Mose and Dowd, and of the role they play in making the reconciliation of God's people possible. What was once a private curiosity now matters. My genetics are primarily R1b, a blend of Ibero-Celtic blood from the borders of Iberia/Spain and Gaul/France with the Romans of Amorica, in northern Gaul. It would make me Gallo-Roman. As a genetic marker, R1bu-152 came to the British Isles with the Roman legions, first with Julius Caesar and then with Hadrian. But even the Romans came from elsewhere, as we are now discovering from their DNA. Their most dominant line is from the Punic people, Carthage and Phoenicia. And it is these same Carthaginians, called Tarshish by the prophets, whose far-flung empire reached all the way up to the British Isles. Their influence, like America's, was built upon trade, assembling the most powerful navy, the establishment of military bases within their allies' countries, and the creation of a reserve currency. 255 My ethnicity, therefore, is rooted in Phoenicia and Carthage, through Rome to the Celts in England, Ireland, and France, who in turn migrated to the New World, bringing their religion with them. Further, until most recently, I have lived in the land most adroitly modeled after Carthage and the Roman Republic, the United States of America. While Batsra means sheepfold, the city of Batsra was a major metropolis under the Romans. It was home to the Judea menacing 3 legion, the Cyrenaica, which took part in the siege of Jerusalem in 70 CE and was deployed again to oppose the Bar Kokhba revolt in 133 CE. As Roman Catholicism grew, Bosra became a religious center for the Byzantines. Muslims captured the city shortly after Muhammad's death in 634 and turned its churches into mosques. Batsra, therefore, serves as the microcosm of imperial Rome and Roman Catholicism, of religion and politics, and eventually, of the dire effects of Islam. The town is also on the road to Damascus, which is where the religion of Christianity was born. Before approaching the Word of God, I came out of all that Batsra has come to represent. Now explaining why the favored witness is adorned in red, Yasha'yah explains. What can be known, Madua, why therefore and what is the reason, of your apparel, La Labu Shota, is your clothing, your is masculine singular, being red, Adam, the color of wine, is that your garments, Warbij Dota, are similar to, Ka, those of one who treads, Darak, who sets out to walk, trampling, within the winepress, Bargath. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:2. The grapevine is symbolic of Yisrael. Wine is used as a metaphor to convey the value of the Passover lamb. And the press is indicative of the fact that grapes, like olives and grain, are typically crushed before they become useful. 256 Press also builds character in people. This is representative of the realization Israelites will be hard-pressed before they return to God. Moreover, Dowd's Nepesh, soul was crushed during Matzah to redeem his people. To serve Yahweh, we must all do time in the winepress. Yasha'yah, therefore, draws a comparison to himself. And in doing so, the prophet reveals why he is so excited over what he is witnessing. He has been toiling alone, and for a very long time thereafter, there was no one to join him. I have tread, Darak, I have set out to walk within, trampling, the wine vat, Purah, the winepress, from Pur, to crush, alone, Labad, by myself. Among the people, Wa min am, there was not a single individual, Einish, with me, Etheni. And so, all of my apparel, Wa shel malbobsheni, everything I have worn, is defiled and stained, Gal, is unclean and discolored, polluted and desecrated, from one Kesser because the mount includes some angry and bloody remarks. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:3. These are the problems. For most of the past 2,440 years there hasn't been a single Yahud willing to engage and serve as a prophet, much less as a witness to the prophets. And as a result, everything associated with Yisrael has been defiled, and desecrated. But now, at this time, there is someone who has emerged from the modern manifestation of Edom, who has finally stepped into the vat with Yasha'yah. And better still, he is conveying the same message found throughout Yasha'yah, Isaiah. This would include the realization that those who have sequestered the prophet's message and harmed his people must pay for their crimes. Therefore, as a result, I was inclined to pursue in my best judgment, Baalei Beni, I felt was appropriate 257 and reasonable in my heart, a day of recompense, Yom Nakam, a time to inflict retribution and revenge, to harm those who have been harmful, and thus of vengeance and punishment, because, the year of my redemption, Shana Golimeni, the time of my restoration and redeeming work, had come, had arrived at this moment, Cal perfect. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:4. This is an interesting insight because it means that Yasha'yah's advocate realizes that the day of reconciliation is both a time of redemption and of recompense. While clearly stated throughout the prophets, it is a seldom acknowledged part of Yahweh's return. This also means that Yasha'yah isn't just content to have a fellow worker, he wants all of those who blocked the way held accountable. It is odd to our ear to hear this mighty man of God speak of his redemption. Yasha'yah was not only uniquely devoted to Yahweh, but he was also a gifted linguist, the only prophet whose oratory rivals Dowd's. And yet, in spite of his lofty credentials and superlative performance, his message and warnings were squandered by those to whom they were intended. He had endured a lifetime without a single soul to show for his work, and so he was exasperated. Then at long last, he is taken into the distant future, traveling 2,700 years from the land of his frustration to witness the glorious result of his endeavors. There would be one, the first soul he could claim as his own, an odd victory to be sure considering the individual's descendants from Esau, but success nonetheless. Then the floodgates would be opened, and as the prophet saw his words poured out upon his people, there would be countless thousands returning to Yahweh. And so, he felt redeemed. Reflecting the frustrations which had preceded this vision, Yasha'yah acknowledged. 258 Having continuously looked, Nabath, having been especially observant and perceptive, considering it all while looking for the proper response, Hyphal imperfect, and having found no one to help, Einazar, only to have no support or assistance, I was devastated and felt abandoned, Shammam, I was deeply affected and hurt, feeling inadequate, actually stunned, even astonished and appalled that I had been deserted, Hitpale imperfect, this ongoing sense of disappointment and inadequacy was self-imposed. Imagine being Yasha'yah. God has entrusted you with delivering the most relevant and inspiring prophecies in human history, and yet no one listened. A lifetime of devotion seemed to be for naught. The message had been so clear and compelling, and the benefits of what Yahweh was offering so marvelous, the apparent failure tugged at his soul. He felt betrayed and abandoned by his people, and for good reason. So, God allayed the concerns of humankind's most recognized prophet. He took Yasha'yah, Isaiah forward in time so that he could enjoy what would become of his message. God showed him how a non-Israelite would come to cherish his words and his God, bringing them to life again. And this time, Yahweh would see to it that Yasha'yah's prophecies would finally resonate within the hearts of the children of Israel. There would be a final Zarowa, an insignificant one by comparison to Moses and Dowd, but not so to Yasha'yah, nor to his people. The long-spurned prophet was so excited by what he had been shown, he may have written my Zarowa to indicate that this witness was sowing his seeds, disseminating Yasha'yah's own inspiring words. So when there was no one to provide any support, in Samak, because there was no one to help 259 establish this, uphold it, or work with, my Zarowa, the strengthened arm sowing and distributing my seeds, Zarowa Eni, the one shepherding the flock for me, my capable arm who prevails in an effective way as a guide in my stead, my defender who is fruitful in his ways and cares about me accomplishing my mission. Especially when sowing the seeds of truth while denoting and advancing the purpose of the arm of God, he will deliver victory for me by bringing salvation through me, Yesha'yah Eni, he will bring this to a successful conclusion for me, even though my disappointment and emotional turmoil, Kema Eni High, my displeasure and frustration, even heated perceptions and antagonism, remain, Samak, pressing heavily upon me, making me anxious at the moment, Cal perfect. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:5. The success the prophet rightly coveted for his people would occur at long last. The seeds he had sown would finally take root and grow, becoming productive and fruitful. And so, while he remained disappointed by the lost time and lost souls, Yasha'yah was granted a well-deserved victory. This is actually the second time Yasha'yah has mentioned the final Zarowa, and it represents his second pass on sharing how the witness would go about distributing these seeds. This course was set in the 59th chapter. Truth is lacking, and no one is honest because there is a lack of integrity, and no one is dependable. Wahayah Emith Adar. Furthermore, anyone who turns away from what is wrong, who departs from that which is perverted, so minra, is victimized, attacked, and discredited. Shalal. Yasha'yah 59:15. When Yahowah witnesses this, it is disturbing, in his sight, in Hugh 260 that, indeed, no one exercises good judgment, ein Mishpat. Yasha'yah 59:16. He looked and saw, that there wasn't anyone, not a single individual, einsh. So, he was devastated, even appalled, shamam, that there was no one to intercede and plead his case, ein paga. So, it was then, his Zarowa, his emboldened arm sowing his seeds and shepherding his flock, Zarowa Hugh, came to the rescue and began the process of liberation on his behalf, freeing those wanting to approach him, Yasha'yah Hugh. Thereby, the realization that he was right and had engaged correctly, Zadaka was upheld and sustained, Hugh Samak Hugh. Yasha'yah 59:17. Not long thereafter, we read about the one whom the Spirit would inspire to sow these seeds. The Ruach, Spirit, of Yahowah, is upon me, Aleni. For this reason, Yahowah, has anointed, designating and appointing, Mashach, that which is associated with me, Etheni, for the purpose of bringing this proclamation of the uplifting message, Labasar, to the unpretentious and sincere who are ready to respond, Anor. He has sent me at this time, Shalak, to encourage and gird, Shabash, those whose desires have been shattered and whose thinking has been thwarted such that their judgment has suffered, La Shabalab, to provide an invitation which can be read aloud, Kara, to be liberated without constraint, Daror, to those who are being led away and controlled, La Shibar, and to those who are obligated and bound, who have sworn an oath of allegiance and who have joined in, Wal by providing a means of release. Offering an opening to extricate themselves from being controlled, Pakak Kawich. Yasha'yah 61:1. 261 The seeds you have sown and your resulting offspring, Zarowa, will be known, Yada, and recognized, Yada, among the Gentiles, Gawim, in addition to, what you have produced with your descendants, Tzitzoata, within, Talk, the family, Ha'am. Everyone who witnesses them, Shel Rahem, will recognize and acknowledge the Naka, observant foreigner along with them, Nakahem, because, they are the offspring of the seeds sown, Zerah, which Yahowah, has blessed and lovingly raised, now beneficially extolled, Barak. Yasha'yah 61:9. This is a cohesive story which has been unfolding before our eyes since the 55th chapter. God has led us to this place for a reason. He wants his people to finally pay attention and return home. This next statement is the only one which appears to be in Yahowah's voice rather than Yasha'yah's. It seems as if God is inserting himself into this discussion to express his disappointment, and to show his empathy for his prophet. It should not have happened this way. Yahowah had given his people every advantage, establishing his covenant with them, liberating them, revealing his Torah through them, and inviting them to his feasts. And he did it all in their language and in their presence. And in spite of this, he would have to deploy a Gawi to get their attention because they had ignored his prophets. So, I have rejected and exerted my dominance over, Wabuz, I neglected and even tread upon, the people, in my displeasure and resentment, Afeni, in my anger and overt frustration. I made them drink their fill of, Shakahem, I incapacitated them with, my righteous indignation 262 Kema Eni, in my hostility born out of extreme disappointment. I have brought down, Yarad, I have poured out, upon the earth, Laha Eres, their preeminence and opportunity to endure forevermore, Netzachhem, the brilliance of their lifeblood. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:6. In spite of the religious sentiments otherwise, when it comes to deadly dogmas, we ought not be accepting or forgiving. To be loving, we must know when, what, why, and how to hate. This juxtaposition between God's overt animosity toward the religious while demonstrating his enduring affection for those within the relationship demonstrates this point. Further, after affording Yahweh with every advantage, Yahowah poured their birthright and superiority out upon the earth. He would not allow their prior position to aid and abet their religion. For the better part of 3,000 years, Israelites have squandered the opportunity Yahowah has given them to live forever, which is why the Jewish religion forgoes any mention or means to eternal salvation. And so, after hearing Yahowah say this, Yasha'yah, realizing that the God he loved had been given no alternative, wanted his people to know what they had rejected to advance their lifeless and merciless religion. I will recall and will recount, Zakar, I remember and will mention, the loyal love, unfailing kindness, and enduring affection, Kesed, the resolute goodness, devotion, favor, and mercy, of Yahweh, Yahweh, God's name transliterated as guided by his Torah, instructions, the praiseworthy character, renown, and reputation, Tehillah, the positive and excellent words, of Yahweh, a transliteration of Yahowah, in accordance with all, Kal Shirl, consistent with everything, which, for the benefit of the relationship 263 Asher, Yahweh, Yahowah, an accurate presentation of the name of our Eloah, God regarding his higher existence, has done for our benefit, Jamal and Aknu, has produced so that we might grow, as well as the abundant, Warab, great, blessings, Tob, beneficial and enriching effects, good things which are delightful and productive. Joyful and pleasing, for the house and family, Baith, the household of Israel, individuals who engage and endure with God, which show the way to get the greatest joy out of life that, Asher, he has accomplished so that they might grow, Jamal, he has done to wean and rear them, in accordance with, Kar, consistent with, his compassion and mercy, Rachamim Hu, his willingness to favor those who are not deserving, and in harmony with, Wakar, consistent with, his steadfast love and devotion, Kesed Hu, his genuine kindness, and enduring affection. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:7. That is a lot to give up, Yisrael and Yahweh, especially for a religion which continues to hold you hostage and rob you of your soul. Is there any wonder Yahweh is disappointed in the horrid decisions which have led you to this place? God is everything your rabbis are not. A relationship with him does everything your religion cannot. Once upon a time, a sentence with 7 interrelated clauses would have been commonplace. But today, we have a shorter attention span and are less disciplined in our thinking. As a result, most people can no longer make the connections which lead to understanding. Such is the catalyst for religion. This has become the most serious issue when trying to comprehend the things of God, many of which require a focused analytical approach. To demonstrate this point, compare a book written 200 years ago to one scribed today, 264, and you will find that sentences are often the lengths of paragraphs, that paragraphs comprise multiple pages, and that the nomenclature necessitates a dictionary. The print was small, and the books were long, the opposite of what we find today as political correctness, progressive dictates, academic indoctrination rather than education, and the onslaught of conspiracy theories have robbed almost everyone of their ability to think. One of the many beneficial and loving things Yahweh has done for his people is to oppose the religious and political leaders who prey upon them. This necessitates exposing and condemning counterproductive influences. And yet today, the politically and academically handicapped will march chanting, "We hate hate," not recognizing that they are walking contradictions. To be compassionate, loving, and merciful, it is incumbent upon us to loathe those who would harm the defenseless. This not only mandates that we are opposed to murder and murderers, rape and rapists, pedophilia and pedophiles, terror and terrorists, but that we disdain anything and anyone who inspires such hostile behavior. It also means that those who openly oppose exposing and condemning religious, political, and conspiratorial ideas out of a misplaced and ignorant allegiance to multiculturalism and tolerance, must be criticized if we are to protect the innocent. And yet today, the opposite occurs, because when anyone does as we have done, which is to hold Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and socialism accountable, those doing the right thing are ruthlessly attacked, demeaned and discredited, by those who believe that they are compassionate and progressive. Keeping all of this in context, love not only requires that we learn what, when, why, and how to hate, it necessitates recompense. To be just, to be moral and fair, we must also be willing to hold those who have either perpetrated crimes or shielded those who have done so 265 accountable. In this prophetic presentation, Yahweh is strongly encouraging all of this. That said, God is setting the proper example. He is using his words, which are the same instruments we should deploy. And unless you are God, and are responsible for conceiving life, have access to all relevant evidence, and are both perfectly rational and completely moral, you should not go beyond wielding words wisely. You do not have God's authorization to lash out violently or commit an act of moral turpitude. Moreover, never use Yahweh's name or words to promote any religious, political, patriotic, militaristic, or conspiratorial notion. I share this warning because there will be severe and unpleasant consequences if you do. In the flow of events, the third Zarowa has teamed with Yahweh to awaken God's people and to condemn their enemies. As a result, Yahweh is able to transition from accusing to accepting, from despising to loving. For he said, "While now it will be true, indeed by contrast, my people, Ameni, my family, will no longer be children who deceive and mislead, Hemben lo shakar, they are not sons who lie, who betray, and who deal falsely, claiming that which is untrue, promoting a fraud which is disappointing and wrong. And so, then, therefore, he will become, higher, he will be, Kal imperfect for them, Lahem, an approaching Savior, La Moshiach, a liberator who delivers them from harm's way. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:8. We, along with our God and his prophet, are celebrating the result of all that has been systematically revealed to us from the beginning of Yasha'yah. The religious and political deceivers have been obliterated. All who are left cherish the truth and where it leads. 266 While Yahowah is our liberator, freeing us from man's way, and our Savior, delivering us from man's fate, he is not being overworked. As few as 1 in a million will avail themselves of his generosity. And this is in spite of all that has transpired and will occur, even through the time of Jacob's troubles. But there is a silver lining. During a period that will literally be hell on earth, Yahowah's witness will not be restricted or even effectively opposed. And his guidance will resonate, liberating and saving many. Ultimately love will prevail. A compassionate God will redeem his people. Throughout all of their afflictions and anguish, Bashal Zarahem, with all of their adversity and troubles, confinements and tribulations, persecutions and subjugations, the messenger announcing, Wa Malak, the informative witness, representative, and herald making these pronouncements, his presence and appearance, Panahu, his personal existence and characteristics, will not be restricted, Lozar, will not be opposed, restrained, or prohibited, nor even troubled, who is liberating and saving them. Yasha'yah, who is now rescuing, and delivering them, removing them from danger. With his love, Bahabahu, because of his affection, and due to his compassion and mercy, Wabakemlahu, as a reflection of his concern, he will redeem them, Hugalhem, he will ransom and deliver them, reassess and release them, freeing them from bondage, having paid the price to do so. Then he will lift them up, Wanatalhem, and carry them away, Wanasahem, based upon everything which has previously transpired and will occur throughout eternity, Shurl Yamim Olam, for all that had transpired in the past and forevermore. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:9. 267 There are 3 ways to render the concluding thought. As a result of Yahowah's love, his compassion and mercy, he will lift up his people and carry them away from this corrupt world so that they can be with him forevermore. Alternatively, these things are occurring because of what had transpired after God made a promise to his people, telling them that their response to him would determine how they would be received by him and other nations. Or third, this is a simple summation of history, with Yahowah doing everything right and his people responding by doing everything wrong. When they became recalcitrant and rebellious, Wahem Mora, when they were defiant and obstinate, contentious and uncooperative, they distressed and grieved, Wa Azab, they irked and distraught, they pained, his set-apart spirit, Eth Ruach Kodesh Hu. Therefore, Wa, he was transformed, Haphak, he was turned and converted, into their enemy, Lahem La Oyeb, becoming hostile and demonstrating rancor and animosity, and he, himself, opposed them, Hulachem Bahem, he was hostile toward them. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:10. Yahowah's support of his set-apart spirit is unwavering. She is our only hope. The Ruach Kodesh is Yahowah's advocate, and our counselor. She prepares us to enter the presence of God. Grieving her is exceedingly foolish. As we approach these next 2 statements, be aware that Ayah is normally translated as whereas I have done, but more typically it is an interrogatory. I did not incorporate this aspect of it into the translation because it would be out of character for most to pose such questions to God. Then he remembered, Wazakah, he recalled, the days of old, Yamim Olam, a time in the distant past, 268 where, Ayah, Moshe, one who draws out, and his people, Wamhu, were brought up and out of the sea, Halahem in Yam, through the shepherding, Ethra, of his flock, Sonhu. It is where he placed, Ayah Hasim, his set-apart spirit, Eth Ruach Kodesh Hu, within his midst, Bakireb Hu. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:11. The Ruach Kodesh was within Moses, and likely many others, but not within the entirety of the community of the children of Israel. This is an important realization because, as a result of approaching her presence during the Mikray of Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim, and Shabuah, we become perfected and immortal children of the covenant who are enriched, enlightened, and empowered to serve our God on Towrah and thereby facilitate Yom Kippurim such that we all enjoy Sukkah. Moses was the first of Yahowah's Zarowa. He served to shepherd the people out of harm's way and to the promised land. During which time, he was the strong and capable arm of God, sowing the seeds which transform our lives. By mentioning him in this way, Yahowah is coming full circle, bringing our focus back to what really matters, which is his Torah's guidance regarding his Shem, name, Berith, covenant, and mode, eternal witness to his appointed meetings. The third Zarowa would direct the attention of the children of Israel back to Moses, to the man who scribed the Torah. His honorable, Tifereth Hu, his courageous and radiant, and now famous, Zarowa, productive shepherd, Zarowa, the prevailing and effective strength, resolve, and overall ability of this remarkably important and impactful individual of action who, as a leader and fighter, is engaged as a shepherd among his sheep, who is fruitful in his ways, accomplishing the mission when sowing the seeds of truth while advancing the purpose of the arm of God, Moshe, the one who draws out, 269 journeyed, Holok. Traveled, such that with the right hand, La Yamim, he divided, Bucker, he split and separated, the waters, Maim, before their presence, Min Panahem, to engage and establish, La Asar, to act and make, for himself, La Hu, an everlasting reputation and name, Shem Olam. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:12. Among those who have walked the earth, few can boast a more productive and beneficial life than Moses. By introducing Yahweh's name to us, he established his own forevermore. Relevant to this pronouncement, Moses was deployed as the arm of God when writing the Torah. And it is the instructions and guidance found therein which make all of the rest of this possible. He led them, Holochem, he walked with them, journeying, through the depths of the sea, Bahataham, beneath the surface of the waters, like a stallion, Kahasuz, in the desert, Baha Midbar, in the place where the word is pondered, from to consider the implications of the Dabar, word, so that they did not falter, Lo Kashal, they did not stumble or fall. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:13. Similar to, like, the herds of animals, Behema, life forms and livestock, which descend, Yared, into the valley, Baha Baikar, the spirit, Ruach, of Yahowah, settled upon and reassured him, Nuvakhu, was placed upon him, comforting him. In this way, Ken, you led, Nahag, you guided, your people, Amota, acting and engaging on your behalf to make for yourself, La Asar Otter, an honorable name and splendid reputation, Tifereth Shem. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:14. This is reinforcing the point which is germane to what we have considered thus far. It links the past with the 270 present as is God's style. Yahweh accomplished his intent by working with Moses, his Zarowa, productive shepherd, inspiring him with his Ruach Kodesh, set-apart spirit, and guiding him with his Yamim, right hand. Yahweh was able to shepherd his flock, bringing them home. Similarly, this Zarowa, one who spreads out and cultivates the words God has conveyed, is committed to re-establishing Yahweh's name while accurately representing Moses' Torah, so that in this way the children of Israel will answer their father's Mikre, invitations and follow them back to the Berith, covenant. To satisfactorily complete this mission, an otherwise irrelevant and unqualified Gawi, Gentile has been supported by the 7 marvelous manifestations of his Ruach, spirit. A chota, stem or sucker, growing out of the rootstock of Dowd, David, became Naka, observant and responsive, thereby able to compile Yahweh's Nez, sign. Then serving as a Zarowa, a capable arm sowing the seeds which take root and become fruitful, God is able to enrich his Berith, covenant family while reinforcing his Tifereth Shem, marvelous reputation and honorable name. If you are a Yahud, Jew and feel slighted that, after speaking exclusively through Israel, Yahweh would choose another, a lousy Gawi, Gentile, to call the chosen people back home, you are perceptive. It's embarrassing that God had to stoop this low to get your attention, but he is doing so because he desires and values your company. Please look down and choose to respond, Nabath, be observant and perceptive, and of your own free will, show regard for, hyphal imperative, from the spiritual realm, min shamaim, from the heavens, and see, Wara, witnessing of your own volition, Kal imperative, 271 from your magnificent, set apart, and honorable dwelling, min Zabul Kodesh Ottawa Tifereth, from your lofty and elevated, separated and exalted, distinguished and glorious habitation, where, Ayah, as a reflection of your nature, me Otter. Your passion and zeal, Kaina Otter, your desire for exclusivity in the relationship and your devotion to it, combined with your ability to perform, doing great things, Gabura Otter, the feminine application of your power and strength, are abundantly enriching, Hamon, are resounding, significant, and on display. Such that your compassion and mercy, Warachimim Otter, so that your love and affection, for me influence my thinking and emotional response, Eleniafake, on my behalf, restrain me so that I do not overreact, such that I keep it together and muster the courage and strength to respond appropriately. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:15. By deploying the imperative mood in association with Nabath, to be observant and responsive, Yasha'yah is asking Yahweh to make this choice and to engage in this manner. Recognizing that the imperative is the second-person expression of volition, the prophet, having been inspired by what he has witnessed, wants it to play out in this way. And he is pulling out all of the stops, encouraging God by appealing to his Kaina, great passion, which is to reconcile his relationship with Yisrael. He is so moved by what he has seen, he is even asking Yahowah to intervene, to influence his thinking while keeping his emotions in check so that he does not overreact. This suggests that Yasha'yah sees not only his words fulfilling their purpose, but also Moses' instructions finally taking root in the lives of his people. May also apply to the final Zarowa, in that it is vital that he does not overreact, and that he keeps his emotions in check. Calling God's people home is an essential mission, one which must be conducted with a 272 clear head and reasoned mind. For Towrah to play out as Yahowah intends, God must influence our response to his guidance. Yahweh are especially fond of referring to Abraham as our father but never refer to Yahowah as such. Therefore, Yasha'yah wants to change their perceptions. This is so important to him, the prophet has managed to include the third Zarowa's titles, both Yada and Naka, into the point he is asserting. For, indeed, KY, you are our father, Otter Abanaknu, because, KY, Abraham, Father who raises and lifts up those who stand up and reach up, Father of the abundantly enriched, and merciful Father, but also the forefather of multitudes who are confused and troublesome, does not know us, Lo Yada Anaknu, he is neither aware of us nor does he acknowledge us, he does not understand us, and Yada is unfamiliar to him. Further, Yisrael, the name Yahowah gave Yaakov, would not recognize us, Lo Naka Anaknu, would not acknowledge us nor respect us, and he has not been exposed to the Naka. So you are he, Otter higher hue, from one Kesser, Yahowah, Yahowah, our Father, Abanaknu, and our Redeemer, Gal Anaknu, our Savior who has ransomed and liberated us. Your name, Shem Otter, your personal and proper designation, is everlasting, beginning long ago and continuing forevermore, Min Olam. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 63:16. What a wonderful conclusion to this prophetic portrayal. Yahowah is finally being recognized in his preferred role, as father of the covenant family. His people are now acknowledging him as their Redeemer, and at long last, they have come to embrace his name. 273, and should you be wondering why it took 2,440 years, and why the catalyst was a Gawi, consider Yahowah's assessment. I decided to engage in a relationship, Dirosh, I sought the presence of someone willing to investigate, process, and consider what I cared about, who would seek answers to relevant questions, Nephil perfect, on behalf of those who were not seeking me, La Lo Shal, for those who were not inquiring about me. At this moment, I initiated contact and was subsequently found so that I could reach out, Matzah, I disclosed my existence and was at this time finally discovered through my teaching and became known, Nephil perfect, the subject, Yahowah, initiates the contact and benefits from the subsequent discovery during a finite period of time, to approach those who were irresponsible, who had conspired against me, and who had no interest in learning about me, La Lo Bakosh Eni. With the goal of moving toward those who have been ignorant, and uninterested regarding me, Peel perfect. I actually said, Amar, during this finite period of time, I literally declared, Cal perfect active, behold, here I am, Hine Eni, please pay attention, look up now and see, I am present. To a Gentile, Earl Gawi, who was neither summoned nor designated, Lokara, who was not invited or called, Paul perfect, by my name, Bar Shem Eni, with my personal or proper designation. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 65:1. God did this because I had spread out, Pharaohs I had opened up and made known, my hands, Yodeni, for the entirety of this time, Shurl Ha-Yaum, to a stubborn, defiant, and rebellious people, Elam Sarah, for a obstinate, insolent, and insubordinate race, who walk, Ha-Holok, in a way that is not good, Ha-Derek Lo Tob, such that their way is 274 counterproductive and disagreeable, ugly and immoral, following after, Achar, incalcitrant and left behind, with a different and antiquated approach, their own thoughts and musings, designs and intentions, Makashabahem, their own justifications and reasons, their designs and contrivances which they have invented. Yasha'yah, Isaiah 65:2. And so there it is, laid out before your eyes in black and white. Throughout the long history of Judaism, and in all of its oppressive permutations, the one thing which has remained constant is that the religion has nothing to do with Yahowah and all to do with the inclinations and designs of men. God has been there all the time with open arms. But instead of embracing him, for the past 3,000 years Jews have walked away, following after their own justifications and contrivances. Therefore, Yahowah Kara introduced himself to a Gawi, Gentile, a Chota, Sucker, a Naka, foreigner who was not a Yahweh, and thus someone who neither bore nor knew Yahowah's name. 22 years, 28 books, and 10,000 radio programs and audio archives later, you are reading the resulting Nez sign. Yasha'yah was the most prolific prophet but not the last prophet. That distinction belongs to Malachi, my messenger. And it is through him that Yahowah not only takes his parting shot against Judaism but, also, speaks of the messenger he will deploy to awaken his people. Yahweh, the beloved of Yah, now known as Judah and Jews, has been untrustworthy and spiritually unfaithful, vagged, has engaged in spiritual 275 adultery, and betrayal while playing disgusting religious dress-up. A detestable and repulsive religious abomination, Towrah, a reprehensible, loathsome, and abhorrent form of worship which is troubling and false, confusing and misleading, has been committed, is performed, engaged in, and acted upon, in Yisrael, Bar Yisrael, within Israel, and in Yerushalayim, Bar Yerushalayim, within Jerusalem. Indeed, Yahweh, Judah, Jews, has defiled and profaned, Chol, has dishonored and treated with contempt, the set-apart place, Kodesh, the sanctuary which separates and distinguishes, making special and dedicated, of Yahowah, written as directed by his Torah, teaching, which, to provide the benefits of the relationship, Asher, he loves, Ahab, he adores. Further, he has married and is owned by the Lord Baal, his familial relationship is governed by Baal, who is in control of, the house, Baith, the home and family, from Forkji whereas the mount reads Bath, daughter, of an illegitimate god, El Nekar, a foreign deity. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 2:11. And so you have wearied, Yahweh, therefore, you have worn out and exhausted, troubling, the opening conjunction is from Forkji, God, El, the Almighty, from Forkji whereas the mount reads Yahowah, with your words, Dabar Atom, with your statements. But you say, Ma, in what way, Ma, have we exhausted and troubled him, Yahweh, have we caused him to gasp, be wearied and worn out? By you saying, Ma Atom, by you claiming, all of those who engage in, Shirlasar, everyone who acts and capitalizes upon, profiting from, shouting with 276 fellow countrymen, no matter how wrong, the loud and boisterous proclamations of religious associates, even if they are errant, benefit, as if they are moral and good, Tob, are pleasing and agreeable, in the sight, Bar-Ein, from the viewpoint and perspective, of Yahowah, as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence, because he is pleased by them, Bar-Hem Hu Chafetz, because this is what he wants. Or, alternatively, where is, the God, Elohim, of the Mishpat, who decides what is right, vindicating, convicting, and just, Ha-Mishpat, who exercises good judgment regarding the means to resolve disputes, to ponder the implications of Shafot, deciding what is right. Malachi 2:17. Therefore, for this reason, from Forkji, behold, I am going to send out, Hinei Shalak, pay attention and look to me, because here and now I am going to reach out and dispatch, Cal participle, literally and demonstrably, I will actually and actively direct, my Malach, messenger, Malach Eni, my representative who, as a herald, will interpret and convey my intentions and thoughts, commissioned to declare what I have to say. And, he will prepare, clearly mark, and highly regard, Panna, he will behold, perceive, and respect, turning toward and making ready the means to approach, Peel perfect, at this moment in time he will show, the way, Derek the path, route, and journey, before me, regarding my appearance and approaching my presence, La Panna Eni, to face me. Then suddenly and straightaway to open eyes and minds, Pitom, in a relative instant to create an opportunity to be open and receptive, they will arrive to pursue the harvest, he or they will come for an inclusive return, Cal imperfect, he or they will continually come, Forkji has hem, they while the mount reads Hu, 277 he, for his palatial home, El Hekel Hu, to his royal residence, sanctuary, and house of his God, from Yakol, the place to prevail and endure. Be empowered and accomplish the mission, the upright one, down, the master of the house, the most capable leader, and the one who provided the foundation for the tabernacle, whom, Asher, to show the way to walk to receive the benefits of the relationship, you, yourselves, have sought, Atom Makosh, you have inquired about, asked and searched for, Peel participle, along with, in addition to, the messenger, Malach, the representative who, as a herald, will interpret and convey the message, who is commissioned to declare the account, of the covenant, Habarith, of the family-oriented relationship, in whom and for which, Asher, in whom, addressing the down, and for which, speaking of the Barith, to show the way to get the greatest joy out of life, you, Atom, have desired, Chafetz, have wanted and preferred. So pay attention, Hinei, behold, he is arriving and will be returning to pursue the harvest, Hubo, he is coming, Hu, he is found in Forkji in addition to the verb being scribed in the third person masculine singular, promises, Amar, and affirms, Yahweh, Yahowah, our Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his Yasha'yah, existence and our Shalom, restoration, of the spiritual implements, Zaba, of the heavenly messengers. Malachi 3-1. So who, Wamai, can comprehend and endure, Qul, can understand and seize upon, properly calculate and support, Peel participle, this day, Yaum, when he arrives, Bohu, of his return to pursue his harvest, and who, Wamai, will be present, standing and remaining, Hamod, will endure, established and alive, continuing to be upright, beside his appearance, Barahu, when he comes into view. 278 Because indeed, he, Hu, will be similar to, Ka, will be like, a refiner's fire, Esharaf, a means to enlighten, purify, and test, a flaming light which purges the darkness, and akin to, Wakar, an alkali detergent which cleanses, Borith Kabash, a water-soluble cleansing agent and soap for washing. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 3:2. There is nothing more upsetting to God than being religious. We humans, and particularly Jews, have committed spiritual adultery. Religiously and politically unfaithful, humankind has become untrustworthy. The Haredim are engaged in acts of worship which Yahweh detests. He finds Judaism to be repulsive and reprehensible, confusing and misleading his people while profaning and defiling the place Yahweh loves, the Kodesh which is so special to him. Worst of all, religious Jews are cavorting with the devil according to Yahweh. They are now a Jezebel, honoring the Lord in the manner of Jezebel with her host of prophets. From God's perspective, they are advancing the fertility cult of Baal and Asherah. Yahweh sees no distinction between Jezebel and Judaism. They are the house, family, and home of a God so illegitimate they are worshipping the adversary, Satan, whom Yahweh calls Baal, the Lord. Yahweh has witnessed more than he can endure. The endless profusion of words spewed out of the mouths of rabbis over the past 2 millennia has tested his patience. The words, scribed in the Talmud, Mishnah, and Zohar have irritated the Almighty to the point of retribution. Too much shouting, too many false claims, too many lies, and far too much religion. There is nothing productive or redeeming about Judaism. As for their parting salvo of the religious, I can assure you that we find the God of the Mishpat, who decides what 279 is right, vindicating, convicting, and just right, here in the words of his prophets. He has not been replaced by rabbis or disappeared into the heavens. And frankly, he is exceedingly disappointed, even disgusted. As a result of what he has witnessed the past 2,500 years, Yahweh is doing something he has not done previously and may never do again. He has chosen to work through a witness rather than a prophet, and thus a Gawi, since there are no longer any willing or qualified Yahweh. The difference between the two, a Nabi and a Malach, is significant only with regard to the method of their inspiration. The actual message is the same, although a prophet is held to a much higher, indeed, exacting standard. A Nabi, like Moses, Dowd, and Yasha'yah, is shown glimpses of the past and future by Yahweh, who speaks audibly to them and through them, such that they reveal things we would not otherwise know. A Malach, like the Chota and Nakri, Yahweh's Bashar, herald, can explore what God revealed through his prophets and interpret the message they have previously conveyed such that it resonates with today's audience. In this rare instance, a Malach is a better choice than a Nabi, even though a Nabi is superior in every other way. Rather than reveal something new regarding his disgust for Judaism, and his frustration with his people, Yahweh wants Yahweh, Jews to realize that he has already excoriated them throughout the prophets, explaining his position so clearly and repetitively that even a Gawi could figure it out. Therefore, without the need for a Nabi or the use of a Yahweh, Yahweh has dispatched a Malach, messenger to explain his mishpat. He is clearly delineating the path Yahweh is following so that, when God arrives, those who are willing to listen are prepared to approach him. 280 Yahweh's messenger is here to open eyes and minds, and fill both with the truth. He has come to pursue the harvest, not only of Towrah but also of Kippurim. His mission is to help fill Yahweh's palatial home and royal residence, the covenant, with the Yahweh loving and Torah observant. He is also here to announce the arrival of the upright one, the master of the house, Israel's most capable leader, the beloved Mashio and Melech, Dowd. The messenger of the covenant will proclaim the return of the Son of God, of the man who most exemplifies the Berith, our Savior. Most assuredly, Dowd is returning and Yahweh has chosen a herald to announce his arrival. But will you be ready for him? Do you understand what God is saying? Will you endure to witness his return? Will you be among those present, standing before him? Yes, Yahweh is also returning on Yom Kippurim to reconcile his covenant relationship with Israel and Yahweh. But he is not coming alone, and it is his nature to share the experience and stage with those he respects, enjoys, and, indeed, loves. On this day, Dowd will not only be the sun serving at God's side, he will also be as God, as brilliant as the sun, representing the ultimate source of light. In addressing the questions of why you and why me, Yahowah would like his people to know. From the days, La Min Yamim, of your ancestors, Ab Atom, you have turned away from, So Min, you have rejected and forsaken, my clearly communicated written prescriptions for living, Kukeni, my inscribed recommendations and prescribed thoughts regarding an allocation of a share of the agreement. You have not observed them, while Lo Shema, you have not focused upon or considered them. 281 Choose to return to me, Shub Eleni, change and come back to me, and I will choose to return to you and to restore you, Wa Shub El Atom, I will come back and transform you, promises, Amar, affirms, Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching, of the spiritual implements, Zaba. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 3:7. This is the report we have read throughout the prophets. They are all speaking with one voice, Yahowah's. The chosen people have chosen to reject God. They have turned away from him, avoiding his Shem, name, Torah, teaching, Mishpat, judgment, mitzvah, conditions, Kuk, prescriptions, Mikrei, invitations and Berith, covenant. And yet, while so many have snubbed the Almighty, and all have denied Dowd, all one must do to be restored to fellowship is to return home. Yahowah will treat every Jew as they have treated him. Choose him and he will choose you. As humans created in the image of our God, we began life in the Gan Eden, garden of great joy. So Sukkah, shelters represents our return to this place and to our God. The path begins with Passover and unyeasted bread, where we become immortal and are prepared to meet with our Maker. The way home passes through reconciliations, where Israel's relationship with Yahowah is restored. The ensuing text continues to denounce Judaism, and especially the rabbis, whom Yahowah calls arrogant, deceitful, money-grubbing, hypocrites. This is followed by God's solution, one which you are likely reading. Then, at that time, as, thereupon, at this distant and vitally important moment, those who respect and profoundly value, those who revere and are inspired by, Yahowah, will convey the word, speaking and writing, Dabar, will communicate the 282 message, as an individual, Ish, a man, to his countrymen, El Riahu, to his friends and associates as well as against his errant, and irrational country. And, Yahowah, will listen attentively, and accepting what he hears as true, he will respond by assisting this messenger, Kashab, he will receive the entire message, hear everything which is said, and will regard it favorably, acting to enable its dissemination because of its accuracy. And he will continue to listen, Washama, he will actually and genuinely, consistently and continually, hear what is said, such that, a book, Sefer, a body of literature comprised of written documentation containing the official record, of remembrance, systematically conveying a word-by-word recollection of the previous communication, Zikaron, to recall and bring to mind, to make foremost in one's thinking, commemorating the right inheritance, conveying what is accurate and important, mentioning and memorializing what should be remembered, will be written, Katab, will be inscribed and composed as an enduring and indelible statement, before his appearance, La Panahu, to approach his presence, for those who respect and admire, La Yer, for those who genuinely value and revere, Yahowah, and who consider, account for, and who have determined the merit of, La Chashab, who impute meaning and value to thoughtfully contemplating every aspect of, his name, Shemhu, his personal and proper designation. Malachi 3:16. As a result, Laman, therefore, it stands to reason, they will be mine, Wahaya any, promises, Amar, Yahowah of the vast array of spiritual implements, Yahowah Zaba. Approaching that day, Laha Yaum, when, to show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, I will engage, acting in a demonstrable way, to prepare my most treasured 283 possession, someone whom I value and hold especially dear, Asar, I will do what needs to be done, working to develop and celebrate my affection for that which I treasure. And so, I will protect and spare them, delivering them from harm, while heaping favor upon them recognizing the scope of the challenges before them, Chamal al-Hem, I will demonstrate my appreciation and enduring love, even commiserate with them, especially considering the difficult task of showing compassion and under these conditions, similar to the way, Ka Asher, an individual, Ish, favors, spares, and protects, assuring the safety while empathizing with, Chamal al. Is especially generous and affectionate toward, even lenient and patient considering the challenging circumstances, demonstrating his appreciation and love, while being responsible for, his son, Ben-Hu, his child, who works with him, Harbadeth you, who serves alongside him. Malachi 3:17. So return, Washub, then come back and be restored, and you will see, Wara, and you will witness, the distinction, and understand the difference, between, Bayan, comprehending the dissimilarity of, the one who is right, Zadik, the one who is vindicated because he is upright and correct, as opposed to those who are wrong, La Rasha, compared to those who are incorrect and unrighteous, guilty for having been errant, understanding the dissimilarity concerning, Bayan, comprehending the distinction between, the one who works with God, Abad Elohim, the one who serves the Almighty, in contrast to the way of, La Asher, those who do not serve him, Lo Abad Hu, those not working with him. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 3:18. Yahweh is concluding his final revelation to his people by explaining how he is going to uphold his last witness. He, and those serving with him, will write the 284 words his children need to hear. The remnant of Yisrael, the last generation of Yahweh, will be offered one final reminder. Yahweh is announcing that he is a proud father working alongside a devoted, albeit adopted, son, one engaged in his father's business. This prophecy incorporates an interesting blend of singular and plural pronouns, suggesting that one man will inspire others, and that collectively they will engage to communicate the word of God in advance of Yahweh's return. And should he be addressing Yada Yahowah, this is what has occurred. On Towrah in 2001, I was alone, and I continued to work by myself for a number of years. Then there was another, and another, as the Covenant family began to grow. Soon, we were working together on this project, with editors, fact-checkers, researchers, publishers, web designers, publicists, co-hosts, and social media contributors, serving our Father on behalf of his people. Just as Yahweh had foretold, one would become many, and the many would work as one. Through it all, our mission has been to perceive and understand, then share the distinction between what is right and what is wrong, between working with Yahweh and against him. Second only to Yada, knowing, we are devoted to Bayan, understanding the word of our God. This brings us to the final mention of the Torah by a prophet. And here we find Yahweh trying to garner his people's attention one last time. What follows are the final words Yahweh would inspire a prophet to share with us. They follow immediately after what we have just read. Pay attention, because indeed, Kyhine, a day is coming, Hayam Bo, a time is approaching, burning, bar, combusting and consuming, like a blazing light and furnace, Kar Hartanyo, similar to a lamp, a brilliant luminary, even as an oven, and then it will transpire, Wahaya, that all of the presumptuous and arrogant, Shirl 285Z, everyone with an inflated view of their worth, the haughty, contemptuous, and disrespectful, as well as all of those engaging in and acting upon, Washirl Asar. Everyone profiting from and celebrating, that which is wrong, in violation of the standard, and thus religious, Risha, the unethical and immoral who are contemptible, will be set ablaze as if they are stubble, Kashwala Hathethem, will be a fire, consumed in the ensuing conflagration as useless chaff. This day which is approaching, Hayam Habo, this time which is coming, affirms, Amar, Yahweh of the heavenly messengers, Yahovah Zaba, when, as a benefit of those in the relationship, Asher, there will be nothing left of their roots and branches, Lo Azab Lahem Shoshwanaf, there will be nothing remaining of their source, their basis, their family line, or what has stemmed from them. Malachi 4:1. However, for those of you who value, revere, and respect, La Atam Yer, for those of you who appreciate and admire, my name, Shemeni, my personal and proper designation, the brilliant orb, Shemesh, the most illuminating source of light, even akin to the brilliance of the sun, of righteousness, Zardaka, of being right, of affirming and vindicating, of abundant enrichment and great prosperity, and of honest counsel and enduring salvation, will rise, ascending and appearing brilliantly, Zarak. She will induce growth, beginning in the east, shining brightly, Perfect third-person feminine singular, with healing and restoration in her wings, Wamafi Barkanaf high, with renewal, and deliverance in the hem of her garment. Liberated and withdrawn, you shall come out, Yatsa, as part of an exodus, you will come forth, and leap about, frolicking, push, playfully springing about, like one who has come full circle and who is now encapsulated, acting like a calf, Egel, like one who has 286 come around and is now shielded, in the stable, Marbet, secure and protected. Malachi 4:2. Then you will provide counsel and advice while trampling, Ozus, 8 you will issue guidance and a warning while crushing, Forkchi reads counsel while the mount says trample, the religious criminals, Rasha, the misleading and erroneous, the ungodly and unethical, the vexing and duplicitous, for they will be, Kyhaya, ashes under the soles of your feet, Ephataketh Kafregel Atom, on the day, Yaum, when, For the benefit of the relationship, Asher, I will act, Neasar, I will engage. Doing what must be done, says, Amar, Yahowah of the spiritual implements, Yahowah Zaba. Malachi 4-3. These three statements, along with the three which follow, comprise Yahowah's final declaration to his people prior to his return as a brilliant light, enlightening, and empowering his children while devouring his foes. Then on behalf of the covenant, and for the well-being of his family, Yahowah will incinerate all vestiges of the religious. Nothing will be left of the individuals and institutions which have tormented his people. For those taking the opposite approach, for those accepting what is right and forsaking what is wrong, who have come to value Yahowah's name rather than disavow it, they will meet their mother, the Ruach Kodesh. She will illuminate this world while restoring the lives of those living within it. Having come full circle, and now having returned to live with Yahowah in Eden, encapsulated in the light of the set-apart spirit, the covenant's children will frolic and play. We have been Yasha'yah, liberated from a degenerative world, having successfully journeyed through these words as part of the final Yasha'yah, Exodus. We are home this day, 287, celebrating Yahowah's commitment to make everything right again. Remember, Zakar, choose to recall and proclaim, Kal imperative, the Torah, teaching and guidance, Torah, the instructions and directions of Moshe, one who draws out, my servant, Ebed-Eni, co-worker and associate, who revealed the benefits of the relationship, Asher. I instructed and directed him, Zarowa, I appointed him and placed him in charge, commissioning him, in Korib, Bar Korib, upon the knife's edge for cutting and separating, with the sharp engraving tool for writing, with the clearly communicated written prescriptions on how to live and be allocated a share of the relationship, cook, and the means to execute good judgment, especially regarding the resolution of disputes, while Mishpat, on behalf of all, Al-Shurl, Yisrael. Individuals who engage and endure with God. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 4:4. Life is better and it lasts longer when we choose to recall and proclaim Yahowah's Torah, teaching and guidance as it was conveyed to us through Moses. We embrace the Berith, covenant through the Cook and are perfected by making the right decision regarding the Mishpat. It is how we become Yisrael, individuals who engage and endure with God. Joining the Malach, witness to prepare the way for the arrival of father and son, Yahowah and Dowd, is the prophet who convicted Jezebel along with those representing Baal, the Lord. It is not a coincidence. Behold, Hine, pay attention, I am going to send out, Anoki Shalak, I will dispatch, to you, La Atameth, Yeh is God, Elijah, the prophet, Hanabi, before the arrival and presence, La Panabo, in association with the harvest and appearance, of the 288 greatest and most important, Gadol, the most empowering, as well as the most awesome and respected, Wah-Yeh, Day, Yaum, of Yahowah. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 4:5. Yeh will be joining Yahowah's aforementioned witness on Pesach in year 5997 year, doing so 3 years before God's return on Yom Kippurim. Yahowah's arrival will mark the single most important day in human history. Hope to see you there. Then he will return and restore, Washub, the thinking and judgment, Lab, the inclinations and thought processes, of fathers toward children, Ab-al-Benim, and the inclinations and thought process of children, Walab-Benim, the thinking and judgment of sons, toward their fathers, Al-Abhem, lest, pen, or otherwise if not, I come, bo, I arrive, and momentarily smite, Naka, I strike, that which is associated with the land, Ethar Eres. Such that the most set-apart place becomes forbidden to the commonplace, because that which was banned for being profane will be destroyed, Harim, the place separated and devoted to God would have to be temporarily abandoned. Malachi, my messenger, Malachi 4:6. What value is a home without family? And should Yahowah return to an empty house because we failed in our mission to awaken his people, rather than endure Israel abandoned and defiled, God will place it off limits for a while. Fortunately, that is not how this story ends. There will be a remnant, and Yahweh will come home. The relationship will be reconciled, and God's people will be restored. Some children will listen to their father at long last. Will you be among them?